All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream. Today, we're going to be checking out Konrad Curze 40k lore. How are you guys doing tonight? It's great to see you guys. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, Konrad Curze, Primarch of the Night Lords, if I recall. I remember, kind of remember that little tidbit there. Night Lords, and I kind of forget what his piece was. Didn't he have like visions in a sense? Was it like precognition or something like that? I kind of forget. I might be forgetting in a sense there, but yeah, I know he is obviously a Primarch. I believe he's dead, if I recall. I'm pretty sure he's not in modern 40k, if I'm not mistaken. So, did he? I'm wondering, did he fall during the time of the heresy, or was he? Is he still kicking? I'm wondering, and he's just not around, maybe. I'm not sure. I guess we're gonna find out here. But yeah, guys, how you guys doing tonight? It's great to see you guys here. Thank you for yeah, hey Fear, how you guys doing? Yeah, it's great to see you guys here. Yes, if you enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and leave your recommendations in the comments below for the VOD. If you guys are watching the stream, of course, hit that like button to support me here. I appreciate it, guys. And you know, any little bit of support there helps. So yeah, without any further delay, guys, we're gonna get right into this because you know, this is a long one, 2 hours 7 minutes. Amber King always is fantastic. I love his narration style. So yeah, guys, we're gonna get right into this. Let me just make sure the quality's good, captions on, and yeah, without any further delay, let's get right into this. As always, I'm gonna be writing stuff down.
Justice
so if you see me doing that,
my purpose. The only route to total justice is fear.
Assisted suicide. Oh shit. You will see no spoilers. Yeah, no spoilers, guys. No spoilers. Don't spoil nothing. But yeah.
The monster. The Night Haunter.
Night Haunter. That's a pretty metal nickname. Nostromo.
These humans, their imaginations are strong. Kill
Humanity.
1,000 men and they will hate you. Kill 1,000,000 men and they will queue to face you.
Damn.
But kill a single man and they will see monsters and devils in every shadow.
Oh.
Kill 12 men and they will scream and wail in the night, and they will feel fear, not hatred. They are panicky, gossiping beasts, these humans. It serves us to allow them to be so.
That's a fucked illustration,
Justice.
too. And so what he's talking about there, too, is, you know, the implication of fear. You know, yeah, you can kill 1,000,000. They're going to know your name. They're going to hate you. They're going to want your ass dead. But, you know, if you're a predator out there, you know what I'm saying? If you're a hunter of men, if you're killing a select few at a time, they're going to fear your ass. You know what I mean? They're not going to hate you. They're going to fear you. That's a very interesting bit of illustration there, man. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, we live. Of course we live. This is, you know, I like these weekly live streams. I think this is an awesome time to, you know, watch a kind of longer format video with you guys. You know, and it's great content. So why not, you know? So yeah, I love these weekly streams. But yeah, no, what a fucked way of explaining that. And man, this illustration here, like I'd shit my pants if I was this guard, and you'd never even know, man. He just, the good thing about this, right, is like, I just ideally, hopefully he would make it quick. You know what I'm saying? Like he's standing right here. Hopefully he would just make it quick. Like, don't even turn me around. I don't even want to see you. Just like crush my skull, snap my neck, do whatever you have to do. Just like, I don't even want to see it, you know?
Serves us to allow them to be so.
Justice, madness, self-righteousness, guilt, and
I'm sure there's
fear,
absolutely nothing
the
wrong with this
cornerstone
planet.
of the broken mind.
Fear
that is
tactics are his
Konrad
whole thing.
Curze,
Vlad the Impaler
Primarch
type
of the
vibes, yeah.
8th Legion, the
Like, look at
Night
this shit.
Haunter. In
Wow.
a universe filled with horrifying demons and monstrous xenos, it would be a human, a transformed, an elevated one, but still a man, that would inspire the adrenaline-spiked dread that haunts our species.
Make it quick, the whole gig is fear. Yeah, I know, man, but listen, you know, all I'm saying is like, don't even like turn me around. In that case, man, I'm already shitting my pants. If you got me walking through like the night with a fucking flare in my hand like that, and I know I'm being hunted, I'm already scared. Like, you've already won. You did your job, right? Like just give me this one. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm asking. Like personally, on a personal level, you know?
That haunts our species, reminding us of the time when we were ignorant savages that cowed from creatures in the night. The legacy of the Night Haunter is a brutal,
quick death, cringe, yeah,
fear-driven ethos,
pretty much,
whose scars reverberate all the way to the 41st millennium. But who is the man, Konrad Curze, the person behind the veil of the Night Haunter?
Sitting here talking about a quick Wolverine claws coming out of his fucking forearms, out of his wrists there, or his fucking upper wrist. I don't know what you call that. I'm not a doctor, you know, but like, fuck yeah, quick death. He's probably gonna fucking, these people are probably gonna skin you alive. You know what I'm saying? These people, these Astartes, they're gonna fucking skin you alive and torture your ass. That's definitely what they're all about. I'm pretty sure, yeah, like they are heretics, right? They were traitor forces, 100%. Also with a name like Night Lords, like, I mean, I feel like that one's kind of a given anyways, you know? Pants chat, yeah, pretty much.
Konrad Curze, the person behind the veil of the Night Haunter. His story begins in the 30th millennium. Above a bleak and dark world, a gestation capsule poured down from the heavens. A comet, blazing with fire and light, illuminating the near-perpetual darkness the planet was shrouded in. The capsule tore its way through the enormous hive city of Nostromo Quintus, plunging down into the depths, scarring the very earth itself. The capsule's landing was so violent it even broke through the planet's crust, lodging itself deep underground. Emerging from the nearly obliterated capsule that still had the marks of claws on its burnt remains, a child opened his eyes for the very first time, finding only rubble. This child was special.
So interesting, I'm just going to say right now, interesting, he landed in a hive city, so that gives me the idea that this is a very developed world, just comparatively to what we've seen from other Primarchs landing on, you know, underdeveloped worlds in a sense, or regressed worlds. A hive city gives me the impression that this is a pretty well built up place potentially, but perpetual darkness, bleak, dark world. This doesn't sound like a very good place. And obviously hive worlds in general, hive cities especially, wrought with crime, wrought with criminality. The underworld is extremely, you know, apparent at that level. So I imagine his upbringing here is probably going to be like, rough is probably going to be an understatement.
Finding only rubble, this child was special.
Not a great place to be, no, not at all.
Yet comprehend. His mind did not flutter to panic and fear.
It has technology, that doesn't mean it's nice, yeah.
Singular thing, one
Gotham on steroids
to focus on.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
The child began to dig. Minutes into his sentience, he was
developed
already in
quotation
life
marks.
And death situation. His fingers began to bleed, and fistful by fistful he tore the earth above with a strength that was beyond human. Bloodied and exhausted, the child broke to the surface, finding a near pitch black existence. The polluted air filled his lungs, and he was consumed by an overwhelming sense of hunger. He needed sustenance. His pitch black eyes found the closest living thing, a human. The child sat upon the anemic, pale-looking thing before him, taking his first life and devouring his flesh, consuming the poor victim's brain. The young child saw something incredible. He saw the...
So right out the gate, you know, see, and this is like, and this is where like I question the Emperor. Like he's you know, sometimes he raises like some good boys, and then other times he raises like some complete fucking you know, psychopaths. Like, this kid just broke out of his gestation pod, and the first thing he's gonna do is go eat somebody's fucking brain. Like, bro, like, not even Angron was that fucked up. Angron got attacked. He got some bodies pretty early on, but, like, he was, like, attacked. That was in self-defense, you know? This motherfucker, Konrad, he's just, like, he's just going for it, man. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Konrad's pod got yeeted into the core of the planet. He had to claw his way out. Is it the core? Like, was it that deep? I know it said it went pretty far, but damn, the core? Fuck. I'm guessing, like, with a hive city, it must be a very, like, cavernous place, potentially. They probably got tunnels and shit, so it probably would be pretty easy. In the crust? Yeah, wow, fuck.
Brain. The young child saw something
Is dinner ready? Yeah.
He saw the memories of his victim, soaking in the
Good thing it's a fucking hive city, so he's gonna have, yeah, plenty of food. He's saying he's a hungry boy, goddamn.
The polluted, nocturnal hellscape around him was the world of Nostromo, a hive world where midnight perpetually reigned in its pollutant-clogged atmosphere. The geology of Nostromo was nothing short of priceless, as the world's unusual crust had unprecedented amounts of naturally occurring adamantium.
Ooh.
Enormous Gothic hive cities dotted the surface, houses and factories stacked upon each other, miles high. A maze of structures and alleys.
So this is a pretty,
together in disgusting,
in all sense, modern world, in a sense.
That dripped down through the layers of civilization.
Like,
to think
it's modern in the sense that it's like I'm gonna say 95 to like 99% of it's like third world in a sense, but it's got tech. It's not just a completely regressed world in a sense, but it's still definitely very developed. Like, it looks like a modern age esque kind of technology level, at least, maybe a bit more advanced. I'm sure this planet might, to a degree, even have a planetary defense force, like a space force in a sense, out there. So maybe, but maybe not. It could just be like modern era in a sense.
Pollutants that dripped down through the layers.
I thought I got the munchies, but damn, this guy,
think about how daunting.
He's just going out there and catching bodies instantly.
To be in the presence of this nightmarish place would have chilled you to the bone. He saw humans, things similar, but yet not quite like him. Pale-skinned people with pitch black eyes, much like the poor thing he had just devoured. From the moment he had opened his eyes, his brain had been filled with a catalogue of information.
Yeah.
The child had understood his surroundings, technologies, and concepts to a level that was beyond an ordinary person. What he had seen was information. He was barely hours old into his sentience, and all he had known was the cold, exhaustion, hunger, and the dark. His framing for all of this came from that very first human experience he had.
Interesting.
The perception of reality from his victim's brain, still warm in his gut. The corpse before him was a criminal. They had seen the people of this world, the wealthy families who lived at the very top of these mega structures, enjoying the only sense of illumination the world could produce. They were corrupted, brutal thugs, vile people whose grip on power was enforced by tyranny and pain. And
so yeah, I imagine that must fuck you up also. Like, not only did you catch a body, but like as a couple hours old, you basically just like went in there and fucking like you got this, you got all of that person's memories, all of their emotion in a sense. He basically consumed that, like he took that person in a sense, you know what I mean, like in the literal sense. And it's like, I'm assuming being a couple hours old, but maybe that doesn't fuck him up. Maybe that's just like he did that and he was just like, oh yeah, and he's better for it, you know. Perhaps that didn't like mentally scar him. I'm not sure, but I assume it probably would. Like that would probably fuck anybody up to just suddenly be overcome with these things, especially if you're not expecting them. Even though you did just like kill a person and eat their brain, quite literally.
Vile people whose grip on power was enforced by tyranny and pain.
100% crime rate with all crimes, yeah.
Descended the layers of this gothic hellscape, the more desperate and depraved it became. Gangs
This place had the highest
roamed
crime rate
the
out of all the
streets,
human worlds.
Stealing, murdering, violating the population, who in turn had to steal, trick and lie just to survive. The population numbers of Nostramo was not kept down by war, sickness or murder, but in reality, self-erasure. No joy, happiness or warmth reached a majority of the people on Nostramo. A life with no future, destined to be corrupted by sickness or murdered. The vision the child saw must...
And I wonder too, in the literal sense of that, if this is a planet that can't actually produce light, literally, like if it's a dark planet, I assume the surface temperature on this planet itself, like we see them walking around seemingly outside. Somebody let me know, like in lore sense, if this is like maybe like in a habitation dome or in some sense, because I imagine like the surface level, and or maybe I'm just like fucking overthinking it, but the surface level would be extremely low. The temperature would be very low on this planet. I assume you can just be outside, you know, if there's no sunlight on this fucking planet, complete darkness, you know. But maybe it's not complete darkness. It looks a lot just like ambient light, but I assume that would just be from like the actual human-made structures, or artificial lighting in a sense. Maybe that's wrong though. Somebody let me know. I could just be overthinking this completely, but...
By sickness or murdered. The vision the child saw must have been sickening. To a person so naive, what would that do to you? It was all wrong. The child felt
because of the smog from the factories,
Even
maybe?
he
That's
felt
fair.
It was unjust.
So there is, it does have
All
sunlight.
of it.
It's
a
just
sensation that seemed
a completely
to have always
polluted
been
world.
there,
That would make
abroad
sense.
in his mind. He needed to fix this. Fix the world. Fix the people. He wanted to make it right. He wanted to make it just.
Sunlight at the top? Okay. Oh.
She couldn't stand it.
Excerpt.
She clamped her hands over her ears and stifled a scream. It was funny, given what she intended to do, that she didn't want to scream. Screams brought trouble. She craved a little dignity at the end. She sobbed quietly, saliva running from her mouth. Her eyes screwed up so tightly that they vanished. Her face swelled. She never looked her
This
best when
motherfucker.
she was weeping. Arjas always said that, teasing her tears away. A laugh.
I'm just getting some like major like fucking like, yeah, like this dude's a literal vampire, you know? Like this is actually just a straight up vampire is what we got here on our hands. Like he also is just giving me like some like really hardcore like, I don't know, like 80s like slasher fucking vibes for some reason, you know, just like with the way this like excerpt is like starting off. I don't know, that's just like what I'm feeling right now.
Arjas always said that, teasing her tears away. A laugh tried to rise at the memory. It choked off in a strangled competition with her sorrow. She didn't hear the door. She didn't hear the slice of bladed fingers, breaking every one of her locks with metallic snaps. The apartment had been burgled many times. They had many locks. The door was scarred from battery, kicked in, bashed in, broken with hydraulic jacks. The stealthy entrance was gentle compared to the boot that had put the panels through, or the blowtorch that had reduced the first lock to a puddle of metal. The entrance was conducted with the respect for the occupants. The intruder had been keen to inflict no more damage than was necessary. She was still weeping, and didn't see him when he bent over double to pull his cadaverous frame through and stand, willowy, yet hulking, his inhuman head brushing the ceiling. But she did smell him. His pungent odor overcame the awful reek of the air exchanger, a heavy smell, redolent of death. Her sobs died. She took in a hitching breath, removed her hands from her ears and turned to face the creature that had come into her sanctum. She kept her eyes closed for several seconds, listening to him breathe, quiet, yet audible over the thundering fans 100,000 lives depended on.
Night Haunter,
she said, opening her eyes as she spoke the words.
I have come for you.
Night Haunter said. His body was swathed in black rags, stitched together from the garments of a dozen looted corpses.
So is this like a targeted like fucking thing here? Like, maybe like we're obviously we're not done yet, so there's still time for it to be explained. But I'm wondering if like this motherfucker's like just seeking out this one woman in particular. Like, there's got to be a reason for this, right? Like, surely, like.
No Taylor.
Michael's Meyer moment. Yeah, literally. Like, this is exactly as I was saying. Like, this is so like 80s like slasher to me, is it not? Like, is that just me? Like, yeah, he stalked her. Okay. Like, and also like, why would she like say his name? Like, you know who it is, yeah, but like that's like some Bloody Mary shit. You can't say their name. If you say their name, you're asking for it at that point, right? He believes she is a criminal. I mean, like, it's possible, but I mean, like, isn't like eating people like alive and stealing their clothes and making rags out of it like also like pretty rampant criminality in a sense? Like, I could be wrong. Maybe though.
Dozen looted corpses. No Taylor on Nostromo would dare outfit this nightmare.
Why?
She said she was too drained to feel fear. The situation was surreal.
I have done nothing wrong. I have lived all my life as well as I could.
You did not dream of City's Edge.
Everyone dreams of City's Edge,
she said. Her voice was small yet defiant.
City's Edge.
I tried to make myself into someone who could go there. I failed, but I did no wrong in trying. I have never harmed anyone, or wished to. I've suffered life here without complaint. Why are you here?
The Night Haunter's eyes glinted.
The manner of your life is not my concern. It is the manner of your death. The manner of death you have chosen is a crime.
He took a step forwards, looming over her.
There were, in ancient places, laws against self-murder,
he said.
Suicides were buried without ceremony, in shame, and those caught attempting to kill themselves were often executed.
But I want to die,
she whispered.
Not the way I will end you,
he hissed.
What I will do to you will make you wish you had opted to live. I am going to hurt you as much as it is possible to be hurt.
Oh my god.
She breathed.
There are
So is there So wait, is her crime is she was gonna try to off herself and he caught wind of this? Now he's gonna go like fuck her up because like of that? Is that am I getting that right? That's pretty radical. Holy shit. Based, yeah? Wow. That's pretty fucked up, man. What the fuck? God, I have to sneeze and like, what the fuck? That's so rancid, dude. So like straight up like, but this is a hive city. Come on, you're gonna tell me suicide's a crime on a hive city? If anything, I'm sure there's too many people. Like, you know, I'm just saying, like, it's tragic, yes, but like, how is that gonna be? You know, like you're gonna go after like her, but not like, you know, the person like out there, like, I don't know, stealing apples and shit. Like that's a crime worthy of death, I think, right? Like, surely, like, I don't know.
As it is possible to be hurt.
Why?
She breathed.
There
Makes
are
a
no
point on why he does this.
against
God
taking
damn.
one's life here,
said the Night Haunter.
Many do. This is not a happy world, but it can be a better one. By killing yourself, you take the easy way out. You encourage others to do the same. You might think you add yourself to a statistic, but your self-murder is much more than that. Every suicide adds to the rot weakening your culture. Every life abandoned is a signal that change can never be effected. You throw your existence away, and in doing so lessen the value of humanity.
He reached out a
Holy
hand
shit.
and ran a ragged nail gently down her face.
That's such a
I am going to save you. I am going to save you all. The people of this world will rise above
That's
the
such a
station
fucked
of
way to go about
beasts.
it.
I will make them. If I have to
He has a
bathe in the
point,
blood
does
of
he?
you all to make that happen, then so be it. Justice is my purpose. The only
He is
route
insane,
to
so his
total
priorities may
justice
not be in
is
logical
fear.
order. Yeah.
Without fear, there
That's
can
kind of what
be
I'm
no
thinking
order.
here. Holy shit.
You will suffer now to feed that fear, so that many others will live, and this decaying society take the slow road to salvation.
He pulled out a long knife he had made himself. It was unlovely, a murderer's blade, but with it he would carve the most excruciating agonies.
Wait!
She said. The blade hissed through the air.
Do not try.
He said.
You plead for something you have already forfeited.
The first cut parted the skin on her arm, shoulder to little fingertip, no deeper than the dermis, for he did not want her hide to tear when he ripped it from her living body. It was so swift a movement, the blade was so sharp, she did not feel it. Her first unbelieving gasp of pain only came when the blood splattered to the floor. She clutched her arm, her hand hopelessly unsuited to the task of closing the wound. She began to cry again, this time from fear and pain. Curze grinned.
You do not wish to die any longer, I can tell. That is unfortunate. But
Oh
it
my
must be
god.
done.
He advanced on her.
What the fuck?
Feel joy that your death will bring justice to this world. Feel
Holy
joy that I
shit.
bring order.
He cut again. This time she screamed. A droplet of warm, wet red dotted his cheek. He fought the urge to lick it off. He must be sober and serious.
I assure you, I do not enjoy this at all.
His heart quickened
What?
at the lie.
Oh my god. Yeah, what? I don't enjoy this at all. Dude, what kind of sicko? Like, you clearly do. Like, why? So not only are you, like, a sicko and you're doing this, but you're gonna, like, be, like, what, narcissistic in a way and, like, lie about it? Like, what the fuck kind of, like, that's some shit. Like, at least if you're gonna do it in, like, that manner, like, you gotta own up and be like, yeah, I fucking love this shit, you know? You gotta own being sick, you know? You can't just, like, you know, you can't, like, half go into it. Like, what the hell? I don't enjoy this. That's cap. That is, like, that is the fakest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, what? I kind of understand now what Bricky meant by the only thing keeping the population in check is the rate. It sounded a bit backwards, but yeah, it totally makes sense now. Yeah. Wow. Oh, you committed a crime jaywalking? Punishment is torture and death. He has a logical moral system. Don't mean he correct in a meaningful sense. I mean, like, yeah, I suppose in a sense he, like, has a point, but goddamn if his, like, morality and his justification for doing so isn't, like, just out the fucking window, balls to the walls insane. Like, that's for sure. Perhaps he does enjoy it, but he can't comprehend that. I mean,
An enormous,
I don't know.
looming figure, larger than...
because like you say can't comprehend it, but it said at the end there, his heart quickened at the lie, meaning, like, he was lying. He knew it was a lie. He does enjoy it. So yeah, I think he fully does comprehend that he enjoys it.
An enormous, looming figure, larger than any man, with knotted muscle, long dark hair, and midnight black eyes roamed like a creature of nightmare amongst the streets of Nostramo Quintus. The boy had grown, faster than any other mortal. into an enormous man. His physical strength was incredible. His speed was almost too fast for the human eye to catch. His intelligence was fierce, but most importantly, his presence was earth-shattering. A name, once screamed from the lips of hardened criminals, was now spoken in hushed whispers. A title that frightened everyone, from the old even to the...
So this, he very much does give off like very like Vlad the Impaler kind of vibes here. Like, yeah, like vampire Vlad the Impaler literally has like the Wolverine blades, you know. He looks sick, I have to say. Like, he does look sick. And like the whole slasher vibe thing too, like, again, like very reminiscent of like 80s horror films is what I'm getting the sense of here.
The children.
I fuck with it. I do like those classic horror films.
Living amongst the damp, cold, poisonous streets and alleys. The boy had no one.
Vlad the Impaler in 40K.
And cries of a tortured and beaten down population were his constant. His first interaction with other humans had been violent. Only hate and pain reached his feral heart. He began to watch, a creature hidden in the dark, observing the inhabitants of this bleak world. All the boy could see was a reinforcement of the vision he had seen, taken from his first taste of human flesh. The people on Nostromo were rotten. He saw horrifying acts, vandalism, thievery, and political corruption in all of them. As he begun to hunt down more sustenance,
I'm just saying, wait a second. Like, let's listen to that.
Horrifying acts,
rotten, horrifying acts, vandalism, thievery, political corruption. Vandalism, thievery, and political corruption. I'm just saying, like, if those are if those are the big three, right? If those are the big three you're basing your hatred off of, those are some pretty, like, you know, like, those aren't the worst crimes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all things considered. Like, if those are the big three that you're basing your whole thing off of, you know, I mean, goddamn.
As he begun to hunt down more sustenance, he devoured more brains of the pale-skinned people.
Like, you stole that apple.
Crime
I'm gonna hunt your ass now.
All.
Like, what?
He felt the need to correct it. It was a desire that was coded into every fiber of his
I assume he can't say the worst on YouTube. I'm just joshing, you know. I'm just joshing. I'm just, you know.
Being. The young man began to prowl the streets of Nostromo.
It's a very, you know,
to act upon his
brutal subject. Got to make some humor out of it, you know.
Gang members, civilians, and nobles would find this towering.
Yeah, didn't want to mention the
lunging out of the shadows, moving at blinding speed, with only a second to comprehend the horror of what was occurring. The young man tore them to pieces, feasting upon their grey matter. A never-ending cycle began to emerge. His consumption led...
I mean, yeah, out of, like, in a more serious note there, yeah, political corruption, especially in a hive world, I'm sure that's, like, absolutely fucking debilitating because, like, you know, you're talking about, like, the bureaucracy of billions of people at that point, right, on a hive world. And especially, again, when 95 to, like, 99% of your civilization is essentially in the third world, living in the third world, extreme poverty, extreme like crime. You know, I'm assuming Medicare probably isn't really universal in this world if it exists at all. So yeah, your standard of living is probably not very high. Average lifespan probably is not much higher than like 30, 40 if I had to guess. And that's probably on like a high end. Probably 30 is like usually as old as most people are probably going to get on worlds like this, if I had to assume.
A never-ending cycle began to emerge. His consumption led to more visions.
It's basically a mafia running the place. Wow, like an organized crime ring.
Names, locations, and accomplices were all laid bare before him. And so the hunt began again. A twisted moral code began to form. He killed. He witnessed a crime. and then he hunted down the next. Even slaying a random civilian, he would find he was justified in their death, seeing through their own eyes the monstrous life they had led. The bodies began to pile up. Entire gangs were left a broken pile of limbs. People went missing.
So even when he kills somebody and they're innocent, he eats their brain, he sees their past, and he just finds something that they're guilty of.
Night Haunter. Fear the Night
That's pretty
Haunter.
Diabolical.
The young man's philosophy began to evolve over the years.
Medi, what? That world does not compute in this universe? Yeah, I assume not.
Yet the
After learning like what the death core of Krieg's like, you know, Medicare consists of, and it's literally just a quartermaster that goes and strips you while you're just bleeding out on the ground, takes your fucking boots, takes your coat, and they're just like, yeah, thanks for the Emperor, and they just continue on, you know? Yeah, I assume Medicare doesn't exactly like exist. Socialized healthcare probably isn't a thing in this universe, you know? Goddamn. Honestly, you think that like it kind of would be though, because you think they would want to try to keep you alive in the sense of like, that's less souls for the warp. I know on the grand scale, it's like such an impossible feat, but it like, I don't know. Every soul going to like, you know, the warp is technically one that you have to kill later, right? So like, I don't know. Convoluted ways to think about that, I suppose.
years, more and more died at his hands.
Corpse starts
Yet
as a thing, people
the
who aren't
people
useful.
didn't
Yeah,
stop.
that's true. I've heard of that.
Why? Surely they knew he would end them, yet they all did not change. The nobles were still corrupt thugs, the gangs still brutalized and tortured, and the poor still stole. The young man had felt this need to correct their behavior. In a way, he felt he needed to save them from themselves. He wanted to shape them and this world into a just, serene place. How many times have you dreamt about shaping the world to your vision? That sensation of correcting all that is wrong in the world, to punish those who deserve it.
You guys know, maybe you guys haven't heard of this game before, but the game Overlord, that series of games, Overlord 1 and 2, this guy is giving me really strong, like, Overlord vibes suddenly now, because he's saying, like, I want the world to be a serene place, I'm trying to make it better, but, like, at the end of the day, he's actually just a fucking, like, the evil villain, like, you know what I mean, in a sense, like, and, yeah, he does, I can see where he's coming from in a way, but it's also just like, holy shit, this guy, like, he's giving off such strong, like, psychopathic, you know, tendencies here, you know, like, goddamn.
In the world, to punish those who deserve it. The now enormous young man started to perfect his philosophy. He had learned so much in such a short time.
Playing Overlord just this morning on Twitch, that's awesome.
To those around him, and his observations.
Dude, I haven't played
panic.
I'm gonna get on a tangent now. Fucking, I haven't played Overlord in years. I would love to fucking play those games again. Those were so much fun. I played the first one, I think I played the original Overlord on the Xbox 360, and I don't even know how old I was. I was probably like 10 or 11 or something like that when I first played the game. Those games are super fun though. I think I have the second one on Steam. I might even have the first on Steam, but I know for sure I have the second one. I haven't played it in years. I'm gonna have to fucking install that and play it again sometime, guys. I forgot that game existed, and just like watching this video, I just remembered it. I was like, fuck. It's a fun game, honestly.
He had learned so much in such a short time. He was a genius compared to those around him, and his observations of those panicky, gossipy beasts that was humanity helped him perfect his tactics. Hunting down his victims.
The problem is he's got the Emperor's sense of justice and his precognition, but not his wisdom to use it.
Uncontrollably. Some wept, and some were too paralyzed to move. To see this enormous dark-haired man, midnight black eyes looming over you, with a voice that triggered despair in the very depths of your soul. How brave would you be? He saw how compliant the scared little creatures before him became, as their death was moments away. Fear kept them in line, too afraid to go outside, too afraid to commit the crimes in case the Night Haunter was prowling. But murder, dismemberment, and desecration was nothing new to the people of Nostromo. Their fear of stepping out of line had been greater than the prospect of just death.
I remember now,
began to ramp up.
I was starting to kind of remember, like, everyone was just too fucking, like scared to leave their fucking homes on this planet. Yeah, that's right. I recall that now. I'm starting to recall that a little bit. Yeah, fuck. Imagine not leaving your house because, like, on the off chance you, like, jaywalk or some shit, like, you're just gonna get fucking hunted down. Because I'm sure at, like, a certain point, there's, like, so little going on in terms of, like people leaving in general, so therefore the crimes I commit, there's probably so little that, like, this motherfucker's just, like, staring at you like a hawk the second you gotta go get some milk or some shit, you know? Like, goddamn. By the way, I don't think it's been said yet, Konrad's signature punishment is skinning. Fuck. That's an awful way to go out. I did kind of actually pick up on that, though, like in the first scene there where he said he's, like, slashed her arm open so that he could, like, peel her skin off later.
The prospect of just
he didn't want
death,
the skin to tear.
the enormous young man began to ramp up. The victims
Very fucked way
would
to
be
go.
hunted, finding those around them torn apart. They would catch a shadow moving out of the corner of their eye. He wouldn't let them sleep. For weeks the fear would build, cascading into a full-blown manic state. The Night Haunter was coming. He knew what you had done. He knew your sins. At the moment of frenzy, when all around knew that you were walking dead, there he was, the figure of nightmare. In his clutches, death was a release begged for by his victims. Weeks upon weeks of slow, grueling torture. He broke the body and mind, broadcasting the screams and cries
Michael Myers
for all
looking
to
ass.
internalize. And then the criminal would die. Justice. Crime was binaric, black and white. He did not care why someone broke order, what age they were. It only mattered that they did. It was discipline, without any human nuance. No one had ever taught him, but most frightening of all, he enjoyed it.
Yeah, there it is. See, there it is right there. He enjoyed it. There it is right there. Plain and simple, actually. In plain English, he enjoyed it. So this guy is just a bit of a sick. So he's just a bit of a sicko, right? Like he is just a bit of a sicko, right? Like that's not incorrect. I'm pretty sure he's just a fucking psychopath. Gifted, yeah, with the Emperor's precognition. But goddamn, like I don't understand how. Because again, like Angron had a reason. He had the nails installed to him for a reason, right? Or not for a reason, but he had the nails installed, so it's understandable how his mental degradation came. This guy just came out the gate like this, you know, like his factory setting was like psychopathic murderer in a sense, you know. So it's just crazy to me, like how the Primarchs, like even at their birth, just how different some of them are, you know. Before the nails, Angron landing on this planet would have been interesting to say the least. Yeah. See, I think Angron would have honestly probably done pretty well here, to be completely real with you. He probably would have like led some gang, but like led it in a way where he's like actually like doing good with it in a sense. I don't know. He actually probably would have done a lot better on a world like this, to be real. Maybe that's a hot take. Makes sense to a certain extent. The reason people commit petty crime is because the punishment is never bad enough to outweigh the gain. It's a bad remedy to the problem, but it's a remedy. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not fair, but like, it's a viewpoint that he has that I can see, if that makes sense. Yeah. He has some pretty bad visions. He had visions driving him insane. Okay.
In
We'll have to
the
see.
pouring, polluted rain, the Night Haunter began to chase another criminal, a young boy, through the gothic streets of Nostramo Quintus. He had caught the little thing in the act of attempted violation. He gave the victim a head start. He liked it this way. Catching up to the terrified young youth, he pounced on him, breaking his body and lifting him high, ready to break him. It was then that the sensation plagued him again. The visions. He saw the future. Multiple futures. Ever since his first moments in this dark hellscape, the Night Haunter found his body at times overtaken by glimpses into the future. It even haunted his dreams. He saw titanic battles with men in ornate, powered armor.
That would probably fuck you up pretty
on
hard.
Distant worlds. He could see events unfold days or even weeks after he had foreseen them. He had even learned the name he was destined to have, the one that his creator had given him, or was going to give him. Konrad Curze. But what haunted him most was a vision of his own death.
Very interesting that he already has the foresight and the precognition that the Emperor is out there and that he's going to be coming for him at some point. That's very, very interesting. And he's also learning about his own death too. Which, I mean, there it is right there. He's going to die, I think. But like, fuck, like that would probably fuck you up pretty hard.
But what haunted him most was a vision of his own death. Upon a distant, barren world, inside a room made of screaming, tortured people, sat
Conrad's
a
intended role
king in midnight
as
clad
Imperium's
armor,
judge,
an assassin that he knew had been sent by his father, strode up to the creature
often
that was
dehumanizes his
Konrad
victims. Not
and
that it matters to
beheaded
him anyway.
To have seen how you would die at such a young age, what would that do to the mind? To have not even had the concept of mortality and human connection, and yet see the man who you knew to be your father is responsible for your death. With the terrified young Nostraman boy in his grip, Curze saw multiple possible outcomes. A future where he gave the criminal the justice he deserved. One where he spared him, reforming the broken child into a paragon. An example that would spread across this depressing world. And one future where the boy took his knife and wounded Curze. His survival would turn him into the most heinous monster, the one who had survived the Night Haunter. A mistake that would dampen the fear the Night Haunter inspired.
So very, very interesting that there's actually a future out there where he actually can like wound Curze here. Isn't that kind of fucking nuts though? Like there's a future where this boy grabs a knife and fucking actually wounds him. Isn't that kind of fucked? Just a little bit. Gotta go. Hopefully I'll catch the end of the stream. Yeah, for sure, man. We'll catch you later there. His foresight was even greater than Cynreius's. Yeah, man. No, it's fucking nuts to me though. Like, just this baseline human, and I guess he's like taken back. He's having these visions at this time. He's vulnerable, but to like even see a vision where this kid can fucking injure you, that must be crazy as a Primarch. It's like a very like interesting sense of his own mortality.
Oh, that future could not happen. Konrad would not allow it. Reeling from the sensation of the visions, the Night Haunter strode forward, ending the vile criminal's life.
You've notified me now
to see the
of these things
boy's
before an
knife
hour.
on the
Yeah.
ground, out of reach.
You got to pay attention to the Discord. The Discord should notify you. Maybe here. Let's see. Did the Discord send a notification out there? Gotta see. Well, I don't know. The Discord sent a notification. That's all I'm saying. If you were in the Discord, and you are Hobbit, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say, So fucking. But no, it's good to see you here, Hobbit. At least you're catching it now. It's all good, man. I'm just joshing here. The only issue I have is that the only time he has a good vision and a bad one, never mentioned or done again. I see. So it basically he just like has them, sees them, but he doesn't actually like have any fucking like foresight into them at all. You've been cooking? Yeah, that's good. Fucking gotta eat, man. YouTube is kind of late though. No, YouTube is a joke. Like I will be honest, and that's kind of like one of the reasons like why I have the Discord notifications up. It's because like, man, YouTube will straight up just fucking like not send you a notification of an upload or just like tell you even if you're subscribed. It's kind of a joke. So, you know, especially for live streams, because like, you know, they're just like, they're really mostly promoted to you know, subscribers of the channel. So it's just funny that like it fucking rarely gets from like pushed at all. So
even as he turned
chicken
to see
stew
the
night,
boy's knife on the ground, out of reach, was it fear or doubt that drove him to choose this outcome? Or were the other possible outcomes merely just illusion? The vision of his death at the order of his father remained. Some futures of Konrad felt more real, like this was the true event to come, and yet all still led to that haunting death. It was like no matter what he did, he was following a path set out for him, like it was all fated. Each act of justice was a predetermined event. Each choice, each grueling torture was fated, and Konrad was just riding the path created for him. He had no choice. And so the Night Haunter continued. He began to ramp up. Criminals of all ages, even those whose crimes were petty at most, found a dark spectre hunting them.
God
Weeks
damn it.
of anguish followed by a death so haunting it scarred the living of Nostromo,
Holy
becoming
shit.
a very silent place. Ascending
Crimes
to the
of most
very
petty.
heights of the hive cities, Konrad presented himself before the terrified nobles, begging them to kneel and follow his law or be destroyed. Some never left that council. The rest knelt before their master. A dark king had risen. Falling in line to the superhuman Night Haunter, Konrad began his reign of...
I guess say what you will though. I mean, he had success on his world. At the same time, he did technically subjugate his world before the Emperor even came there. So he has a home world already established in a sense. So, I mean, yeah, his methods are very, very fucked. No doubt about it. But at least he actually, you know, like got the world, I guess.
into the superhuman Night Haunter, Konrad began his reign of justice, utilizing the vast communication network of the hive cities. The capture, death, and torture of criminals was cast throughout the cities, all mandated to witness the justice taking place. But this reign of dread was not solely a barbaric one. Corruption was eliminated. Illumination was brought to the previous crime-laden depths. The people did not starve. A living wage was mandated. No one was the victim of crime either. It was Konrad's serenity.
So he actually socialized quite a bit there, it seems. Everyone had a living wage? Wow. No one was a victim of crime? I mean, hey, wow, I mean, you can't leave your fucking house, but I mean, it sounds like he was a bit of a socialist, if you ask me. I mean, damn.
Either. It was Konrad's serenity.
Conrad is
Millions
messed
of
up, but he's
people
brutally
lived
effective in a
healthy,
sense.
safe
Yeah.
lives, but in uncompromising, unnerving silence. Families sat at home, dreading to speak, not to mistakenly incur the gaze of the Night Haunter. Decades passed, and Nostromo had been transformed. Not a single crime had been committed in living memory. But everything would change on the day that Konrad knew would come to pass. a day he had seen in his prescience. At the borders of Nostromo, the Great Crusade had arrived, descending from the dark skies like a shining beacon. An army landed. The procession made its way through the illuminated, clean streets, all the way to the Night Haunter's palace. The pale-skinned, dark-eyed Nostromans wept. The majesty, such perfection. Some even went blind.
Damn.
Standing before the
And they're literally like, I'm assuming this is the Emperor and the Custodies that show up. They're literally like in gold armor, emanating fucking light on a planet where there's so little like light to go around. I assume these guys must look like literal gods to them as they show up. Wow. Fuck. The place went from crime rate 100 to 0. Yeah, pretty much. And in only like the span of like what, less than a decade, technically. The Emperor and a few Primarchs. Yeah, I guess Horus probably would have been there too, right? Horus probably would have for sure been there. Mr. Definitely not a god, exactly.
Standing before the dark
Not a god.
king,
He's not a god,
Konrad
guys.
finally lay his true eyes upon his father, the Emperor of mankind.
It is better by far to be an object
Nice.
of fear than
There
of
it is again.
respect. For one is a truth of the soul, and the other an illusion of the mind. You understand now, for them and for all enemies. Yes, I wanted to be ruthless.
Dorn, Fulgrim, and Horus?
Let
Damn.
fear enter in them once and for all, because only with terror could I change anything in this world.
What do you think Dorn thought of? I wonder what Dorn's thoughts of were when he like first showed up on this planet. Was he probably like? I imagine he was probably just like, huh, fuck. I assume all of them. Like it just seems like an uncomfortable place. Yeah, it's like safe, but like what an eerie safety to be a part of. Normal guy, Halo, a suffocating presence, not a god, can speak to you in your mind, not a god. Trust me, bro. Yeah, you know, is like fucking like what, like 20 fucking feet tall, gold plat armor, fucking yeah, literally telepathy, you know, has a wreath on his head, literally is shining, bathed in light. Not a god though. Oh, Lorgar was there also. Lorgar probably would have fucking loved this. Lorgar would probably have been like, oh my god, like this is like everything I want and more, brother. Wow, I can't believe. Dorn doesn't have thoughts.
Never once had Rogel Dorn
Dorn
called
hated
him
from
by
the
his
start.
full name.
I thought so.
Brother,
He had replied,
Throne, what are you doing here?
demanded Dorn, his normal,
Oh.
affable tone swallowed in the depths of his outrage.
Well, here we
A
go.
phalanx of golden-armed warriors followed their lord, and Curze had immediately sensed the tension in the air.
punishing the guilty,
He answered coolly.
restoring order.
The Primarch of the Imperial Fist shook his head.
This is not order, Curze, it is murder.
Very funny how I brought that up
Command
and then
your
it
warriors to
segues
stand down.
into a conversation
My
between
Imperial
them.
Fists will take over this sector.
Stand down.
Said Curze.
Are they not the enemy?
Not anymore.
Said Dorn.
They are prisoners now, but soon they will be a compliant population and part of the Imperium. Have you forgotten the Emperor's purpose in declaring the Great Crusade?
To conquer.
Said Curze.
No.
Said Dorn, placing a golden gauntlet on his shoulder guard.
We are liberators, not destroyers, brother. We bring the light of illumination, not death. We must govern with benevolence if these people are ever to recognize our authority in this galaxy.
See,
Curze
Dorn's
flinched at the
speaking
touch,
some facts right
resenting
now.
the easy friendship Dorn pretended. Bileless anger bubbled invisibly beneath his skin. But if Dorn was aware of it, he gave no sign.
These people resisted us and must pay the penalty for that crime.
said Curze.
Damn.
Obedience to the Imperium will come from the fear of punishment. You know that as well as anyone, Dawn. Kill
Holy
those
shit.
that resisted, and the others will learn the lesson that to oppose us is to die.
Oh.
Dawn shook his head, taking his arm to lead him away from the curious stares their heated discussion was attracting.
You are wrong, but we should speak of this in private.
No.
Said Curze, angrily shrugging off Dawn's grip.
You think these people will bend the knee meekly to us because we show compassion? Mercy is for the weak and foolish. It will only breed corruption and eventually betrayal. Fear of reprisals will keep the rest of this planet in check, not benevolence.
Dawn sighed.
So I wonder what's going to eventually push him to turn. And I guess with his precognition too, he didn't actually see, or maybe he did see, a possibility where he went traitor, you know, he broke away, or maybe that's exactly what he wanted from the start, and he never shied away from that. But with his precognition too, I wonder if he actually saw that the heresy was a possibility, that it was going to happen in a sense. And if that's the case, did he just choose not to warn anybody about it? Maybe I'm thinking a little bit more into that than I should be. Makes me sad with how good he is, how much he suffers. We don't bring death, meanwhile dropping virus bombs on Xenos planets. Well, those are Xenos planets. Those are just Xenos. Those don't count. Dorn is probably my second favorite Primarch. He seems pretty based. He seems like a pretty, like, well thought out guy. That's for sure. That's for sure. Hold on, my cat wants in my room.
And the hatred planted in those you leave alive will pass from one generation to the next until this world is engulfed in a war, the cause of which none of those fighting will remember. It will never end. Don't you see that? Hate only breeds hate, and the Imperium cannot be built upon such bloody foundations.
All empires
That's
are
ironic.
forged in blood.
Said Curze.
To pretend otherwise is naive. The rule of law cannot be maintained by the blind hope that human nature is inherently good. Haven't we seen enough to know that ultimately the mass of humanity must be forced into compliance?
Yikes.
I cannot believe I'm hearing this.
Said Dawn.
What has gotten into you, Curze?
Nothing that has not always been there, Dawn.
Yeah, I don't know what that's kind of a stupid statement. What has gotten into you? Like, bro, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, like, how long after the meeting this conversation takes place is. But, like, you showed up on his planet, you saw how it was. I'm sure, like, you know, you must get the sense like he's kind of just doing this, like this is kind of his piece, right? Like, surely, like.
Into you, Curze.
Nothing that has not always been there, Dawn.
Said Curze, striding away from the mighty golden figure and holding
He
one
foresaw
of the
the
few
heresy?
remaining
Damn.
prisoners upright
I
by
went,
the
so he
front
just
of his
chose to
doom.
keep it to
He
himself.
scooped up a fallen bolter and thrust the heavy weapon into the prisoner's trembling hands. Curze leaned down and said,
Go ahead. Kill me.
The terrified man shook his head, the oversized weapon shaking in his hands as he thought his limbs were paralyzed.
No.
Said Curze.
Why not?
The prisoner tried to speak, but was so awed by the terrifying proximity of the Primarch that his words were unintelligible.
Are you afraid you will be killed?
The man nodded, and Curze addressed his warriors.
No one harms this man. No matter what happens, he is not to be punished.
Curze turned and walked back towards Dawn, with his arms stretched out to either side of him, presenting his back to the prisoner. No sooner than he had turned away from the armed man than the gun had been raised and the hard crack of a bolt shot split the air. Sparks flew as the explosive shell ricocheted from Curze's armor, and he spun around on his heel to smash the prisoner's skull to splinters with his fist. The headless corpse swayed for a moment before dropping slowly to its knees and pitching onto its chest.
You see,
said Curze, his fingers dripping with blood and bone fragments.
And what was that supposed to prove?
Asked Dawn, his features curled in distaste.
that any chance mortals get, they will choose the path of descent.
That was a kind of a fucking, like, stupid way to prove that, though. Like, this is your prisoner. You just turn your back to a prisoner after giving him a gun. Like, you just fought these people, assumedly. Like, no shit, he's gonna take his shot on you. Like, you even just, like, gave it to him, in a sense. Like, offered it to him. So, you know, that was kind of, like, poor, like, reasoning in his sense, you know.
When he thought he would be punished, he dared not shoot. But the moment he believed himself free from consequence,
He tried a few times,
acted.
but no one believed him. That's
That
fucking nuts.
Was an unworthy deed.
Tried to warn
said
people of the
Dawn,
heresy.
And Curze had turned away from him before he could elaborate. But the Imperial Fist...
Dorn
primarily
casually
caught his
forgetting that,
arm.
yeah.
Your warriors will stand down and withdraw, Curze. That is an order, not a request. Leave this planet. Now.
Dawn's eyes were hard as granite, and Curze knew enough of his brother's resolve to realize he had pushed him far enough.
When this campaign is won, you and I will have words, Curze. You have crossed the line, and I will no longer countenance your barbarous methods of war. Your way is not the way of the Imperium.
I think you might be right.
Whispered Curze.
What the fuck? So he acknowledges it even.
Look out at my father's Imperium. Do not unroll a parchment map or analyze a hololithic star chart. Merely raise your head to the night sky and open your eyes. Stare into the blackness between worlds. That dark ocean, the silent sea. Stare into the million eyes of firelight. Each a sun to be subjugated in the Emperor's grip. The age of the alien, the era of the inhuman is over. Mankind is in its ascendancy, and with 10,000 claws we will lay claim to the stars themselves.
Damn.
The Great Crusade, the reconquest of the galaxy, the unification of the race of mankind. Meeting his father at the steps of his Nostraman palace, Konrad was overcome by his prescient visions. It was so violent and horrifying that even he, a Primarch who had butchered and tortured thousands of people, tried to claw his own eyes out.
Damn.
Only with the intervention of the Emperor was he stopped, calming him, bidding he be at peace. The Night Haunter, or
Crazy, like, yeah, like he saw these visions and like he saw them come true, and it was just far too much for him to actually fucking like keep going on. Like it broke his mind to see them come true, because I'm sure he had precognitions of shit coming true before then, up and like before the Emperor arrived. But when the Emperor arrives and he saw it happening, like that must be like a for sure, like, holy shit, this shit's real. Like it's happening, you know? What I'm seeing isn't bullshit. Because especially if you're seeing like your own death, then you know your own death is in a sense like real, you know? Like goddamn.
him, bidding he be at peace. The Night Haunter, also like playing a role, acting out what was destined to be, submitted himself before the Emperor, pledging his loyalty. Like all Primarchs before him, Konrad did not join the legion that had been created from his own genetic material. He began his induction under his brother Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's children.
He
Of
shakes
all the
Horus's
brothers
hand
that
and sees
strove
how he
through
dies.
Nostramo
That's
on
fucked
that
up.
fateful day, it was Fulgrim alone who had the decency to look him in the eye. Konrad began to pick up the information and battle doctrine at frightening speed, the gift of his superhuman genetics showing just how elevated he was, despite his somewhat barbaric origins. Fighting and learning by Fulgrim's side, he saw how the Imperium fought, how Hastati fought. He saw how Fulgrim used his legion as a symbol, paragons decked out in ornate, beautiful armor. He saw the power of imagery. With his tutelage coming to an end,
like, yeah, and I'm sure that must be a new concept to the Night Haunter in a sense. Imagery, right? Like propaganda in a sense, because his propaganda is fear, right? He doesn't need to be seen for people to fear him. Like, people just need to mention his name or not even mention him at all. That he's a boogeyman, right? Essentially. But yeah, with the presence of Astartes, with the presence of imagery, you know, you're a symbol at that point. You have the chance to be more, to be seen as more. I think that's really, really interesting. He foresaw the deaths of all Primarchs that arrived with the Emperor on Nostromo. That's fucked up. He has the doomer mindset because he believes the future he sees is set in stone. So many people have told him that the future can be changed, but he refused to listen because he believes it can't. Ah, damn.
The power.
That does make a lot of sense, though.
With his tutelage coming to an end, the first recruits drawn from Nostromo had been raised up, elevated to Astartes, and finally the Legion, Nostromans, and Primarchs were merged. The 8th Legion, now the Night Lords, were ready for the Great Crusade. Like all Primarchs, Konrad began to mold his Legion.
Interesting that he's recruiting them from Nostromo.
Created the mixing of his personal philosophy with the logistics of warfare. It is far better to be an object of fear than of respect.
Stream went to your PC, not your phone. Oh, damn.
An illusion of the mind.
That makes sense, though.
He taught his sons to become icons of fear. Fear is the greatest of all weapons. Fear will cow a world where guns will not. We spill blood to save blood. Why use terror? Terror is a clean blade. Its cuts disarm opponents without doing them harm. Terror is the friend of compliance. The few must die in pain so that the many can live in peace.
That's a very metal statement.
Is the road to civilization. The ends justifies the means. Even on those cold, damp,
both Sanguine and the Emperor have told him that he can be better. He chooses the path of least resistance.
A sense of wanting to make the universe right. Perhaps the way the Emperor had made him. He had learned that these panicky, gossipy beasts that was humanity needed to be shepherded. He truly did believe in a united humanity, a universe purged of xenos and mutants, a serene utopia where fear kept the rabble in line. You understand now. For them and for all enemies. Yes, I wanted to be ruthless. Let fear enter in them once and for all.
That looks sick.
Because only with
their
terror
armor
could
scheme
I
looks
change
absolutely fucking awesome, I will say. Now, saying that, like, he definitely wants to be, like, under his Imperium, his visionary Imperium, it would be much like a fanatic authoritarianism. Versus where the Age of Strife, you have egalitarianism. Oh my god, I can't speak today. Egalitarianism, I believe is what it's called. Where, like, you know, individuals have more rights in a sense. He wants to rule through complete fear. You're not leaving your house unless you have a job to do when you do leave your job. But then in the same hand, he believes that, like, humanity should be shepherded. And it's like, it's a very weird mixing of, I guess, like, objectives in a sense. Because, like, even on his own world, like, universal income, in a sense, like a minimum income, shit like that. Like, he doesn't seem like a bad administrator. He's just like a fucking psychopath, seems like the issue. Obedience through fear and overwhelming force, yeah. Like an extreme autocrat, in a sense.
Because only with terror could I change anything in this world. The 8th Legion became a force of terror. Konrad and his sons
If you want a video explaining the Night Lord's legions and one of the creepiest Warhammer videos out there, look up Baldamore's Night Lord's video.
Like
I have to do that sometime.
They utilized horrific sounds,
thank you for that recommendation, Hobbit.
Screams that would disorientate and spark dread. His sons became the tools, the extensions of his teachings. Legends such as Sahar.
I assume these
Shan,
guys must be really fun to paint, the Night Lords here.
Talos,
Must be super fun to paint.
Sevatar. World upon world, all proud and brave in the face of conquerors, did not understand what was coming. The Night Lords, the Night Haunter. Upon entering the war zone, they wouldn't attack. The defenders' brave chants and boasting, rising like a crescendo until they realized the truth. Captives had been taken. Their screams of agony was broadcasted for weeks. The panicky, gossipy beasts would start to dread the night, alone with the bone-chilling sounds. And then they came. Superhuman warriors in midnight clad, covered in still warm blood, led by an enormous figure that invoked our primordial fears. You can imagine the absolute bone-rattling dread that would grip you. Looking at the sea of monsters.
And like, how big is Konrad, you know? Like, I'm assuming he's not like the biggest Primarch by any means, obviously, but like, he's got to be like 5 or 6, like in the height scale, right? Like he's got to be pretty large, I'm assuming. But goddamn. Also, yeah, like, again, broadcasting their screams, torturing people for weeks on end, and broadcasting their screams to the world that you're about to conquer. Yeah, I assume that would probably break most worlds. Like, they'd probably just fucking surrender right then and there. Like, I don't imagine most people would want to fight after that.
Bone-rattling dread that would grip you. Looking at the sea of monsters approaching.
Humanity equals sheep, Semper equal shepherds.
World
Konrad
upon
equal
world
dog.
fell to Konrad and the Eighth. So
He is the
many
physically
had been
weakest
spared
Primarch,
death.
really.
But many of his brothers decried his way.
He's actually one of the taller ones, probably 11 to 12 feet, damn.
Telling him that the hatred planted in those that lived would pass on from generation
They had one of the lowest kill
generation,
counts.
until the worlds it would be engulfed in a war that the cause.
I think it's interesting they had one of the lowest kill counts, if that's true, and it makes sense because, again, their whole thing isn't to kill necessarily en masse. It's to kill a few so that the rest are just too fucking scared to fight you. It's an effective strategy. It's just like brutal is what it is, you know?
To generation, until the worlds it would be engulfed in a war that the cause of which none of those fighting will remember. It would never end. How could he not see that? But it didn't matter. Terror is the friend of compliance. So long as they were afraid, humanity would be compliant.
Brothers.
Take the universe and
Terry
grind
Pratchett.
it down to the finest powder, and sieve it through the finest sieve. Then show me one atom of justice, one molecule of mercy. And yet, you act as if there is some ideal order in the world, as if there is some righteous in the universe by which it may be judged.
At times, in raptures of pain, I saw what was to occur laid out before me. In these waking dreams, I took countless lives with my bare hands, heads taken as trophies.
Yeah.
I died again and again at the hands of my father. My sons butchered and maimed by their brothers. My name was to become synonymous with dread, but most vividly and most frequently, I saw my world pierced by a lance of purest light, splitting it, shattering it into dust.
Saying that, Nostromo got fucking detonated, right? Is that correct? I'm pretty sure, if I'm recalling, Nostromo got fucking whooped out of fucking existence. If I recall, they fucking exterminatus that bitch. If I'm recalling right, like, goddamn, yeah, oh yeah, shit. That's bad luck there, Conrad. I'm sorry to hear that, and that would probably fuck you up too, seeing that too, like knowing that like everything you're working for on this world, and his brothers are sitting there telling him like, oh yeah, that like the future can be changed and whatnot, but he doesn't believe that shit. But he is actively the one that makes it so he can't change it. He did it himself. He does. He destroys it. Oh, wow. Fuck. Okay. That's brutal. I wonder. So I guess we're going to find out why he does that. I don't know exactly why he does that. We're going to have to find out here.
It was self-sacrifice. Konrad Curze, the Night Haunter, was creating a just universe for the Imperium, following his fated path created by his father's design. He would do it all, hands soaked in blood. The Great Crusade progressed for decades. The mere mention of the 8th Legion would cower worlds into obedience.
Yeah, I bet.
They knew the stories, the horrific monsters clad in dark armor, covered in flayed skin and skulls. How death was a mercy compared to what they would do.
True.
Many, such as Dawn, decried the use of his tactics, but others were just as incensed with Konrad's twisted sense of justice.
Yeah.
His dislike for humanity was apparent in his conflict with Magnus the Red. In a joint compliant action, Magnus sought to save the destroyed culture's libraries. The knowledge could be saved, used to aid the Imperium, but Konrad refused his brother's wishes,
That's
ordering
crazy.
a bombardment to destroy the last remnants of a defeated culture.
You would think that the Emperor even would have fucking very big problems with that. If you're destroying like libraries, potential STCs, or technologies, anything at all to do with that, like you would think the Emperor even would show a massive fucking disdain, or the Mechanicus would show a massive fucking disdain with that type of behavior. And at the end of the day, like again, if this is a library, or if this is a place of research, a place of technology, it doesn't serve to blow it up, especially for the Imperium. If it can be used to aid you, the Emperor said to destroy it, that's fucking nuts. The Emperor is awful hypocritical at times. He really changes up his prerogative from time to time, doesn't he? His royal decree, as it were. Really, I guess he's got that foresight. Maybe it was some bad juju on there, maybe.
A bombardment to destroy the last remnants of a defeated culture. What good did the knowledge of other worlds do for the Nostromo? Learning of brighter places, civilizations with happy, compliant people. Knowledge for Magnus was freedom, a concept the Night Haunter hated. The people did not need to be free. Their freedom led to choice, and choice led to crime.
Gods
Freedom
are bad tech,
challenged the Night Haunter's justice.
STC is stored in other places, not in books. Not in books, no, but like, again, a library is often a place, if it's a culture that fell, like this is, I'm assuming, a world that like is being brought back into the fold that was lost during the Age of Strife. A library that maybe only contains books could also be a place where they contain their holy relics, which could in fact be relics from the Age of Strife, or perhaps ancient technologies, but they're just keeping it in their library because, you know, where else are they going to keep it in a sense if they don't have the knowledge to use it? So I think destroying libraries, especially if you don't know what's in there, like, it doesn't serve you to just level it to the ground, you know?
Freedom challenged the Night Haunter's justice. Though he despised the Emperor, his father, he still believed in a just society of humanity. It was the interpretation of that which drew the ire of so many of his brothers. Take the universe and grind it down to the finest powder and sieve it through the finest sieve, and then show me one atom of justice, one molecule of mercy. And yet, You act as if there is some ideal order in the world, as if there is some righteousness in the universe by which it may be judged. Konrad had seen how effective, how transformative his justice worked on Nostromo, that depressing hellscape. To cower and control that vile population, he had learned that only an absolute black and white system, something that disgusted his brother Vulcan, Primarch of the Salamanders. During a joint
I imagine
action
Vulcan
on
must
the
have a
world known as
fucking
Karastan,
bone to pick.
Vulcan and his salamanders fought alongside Konrad and his Night Lords.
Yikes.
It was only up close that the horror of Konrad's philosophy was realized. During this campaign, Vulcan became disgusted with his brother, seeing the torture, the brutality, and disregard for human life, even witnessing the Ace slaughter the inhabitants of an entire city in order to seed fear amongst the general population. Vulcan, from his first moments, had never been alone. He had a family. He was raised with love. He connected to the people of his homeworld. He understood the human experience, something Curze never had.
Curze never had it, but before he goes any further there, Curze also broke through his fucking gestation pod, crawled his way up from the ground, and then fucking ate the first person that he saw. To be fair, so he can sit there and say he never had that, but he never really gave it a chance either, you know? Doesn't matter how innocent you are, when chaos gets you, the best mercy is a quick death. That's true. Vulcan snapped and burnt an elder child, which he regrets later on. Yeah. I imagine Vulcan taking any life that isn't necessary is probably affects him greatly.
His interaction with humanity was violent. He saw the world through a criminal's brain. He never saw all the good inside the hearts of mankind.
Yeah.
Vulcan confronted Curze about his
opportunity.
legion's actions, and the two demigods clashed. Battered and wounded by each other, Vulcan swore he would inform Horus and Dawn of his brother's disgusting actions.
Damn.
A slight Konrad would never forget. Vulcan had not seen humanity like he had. His sense of justice was naive.
So not only did they fight,
After decades
but
of warfare against numerous
Vulcan was going to go rat him
species
out.
and lost colonies of mankind.
It makes sense.
The 8th Legion had cut a bloody...
Eating a person is kind of wild. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he literally came up, and the first fucking thing he did, the very first fucking thing he did was eat a motherfucker, like, eat a person, eat his brain, take his thoughts, and then thought, oh yeah, this person I just ate lived a really shitty life. Guess that means humanity's shit, lol, as I'm sitting there feasting on their fucking, like, corpse. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's such a backwards way to go about it and get your, like, worldview on it. Like, holy shit. Like, you never even tried to get a mentor or anything like that, you know? Like, there was no, like, even attempt at that. It was purely just, like, psychotic behavior from the start. Like, maybe that's a hot take, but, like, goddamn. Ironic that Vulcan complains about brutality when his salamanders burn entire worlds to achieve compliance. Yeah, it is kind of ironic from the salamanders, considering they literally use flame weaponry, which is probably the most fucking painful way to die. Like, getting burned alive like that. Yeah, probably pretty bad way to go out, if I had to assume. If he ate a good human, he would be good. Like, that's true. Yeah, if he landed on a different world and ate just some random, like, good dude that was just, like, living his life, maybe Konrad would turn out to be a very different Primarch.
Species and lost colonies of mankind. The 8th Legion had cut a bloody swath across the galaxy, but the cost of decades of warfare came full circle to the Legion. Absent of the Night Haunter, Nostromo began to fall into its old ways. A coup had been launched. The old, corrupt noble families, generations who had lived on a world devoid of the Night Haunter's presence, had overcome their fear. For decades, the bravest, brightest minds on Nostromo had been taken, inducted into their Dark King's Legion. With the regime change, the dregs and damned, the boys who were unredeemable, languishing in prisons, were offered up. Men who were mirrors of the very criminals the Night Haunter had hunted were now transformed. They were now in midnight clad. Fear was their weapon, but slowly the Legion began to rot, filled with legionaries who turned their weapons into sadistic delight, butchering and torturing for the enjoyment, something the Night Haunter would have to cleanse.
Ooh. Very interesting that, like, so they started giving him prisoners, basically, as, like, his recruits. Very interesting, like, that he kept drafting Astartes from the Stramos then, and I get, like, why he would do that. But, like, also, if these are, like, actually just criminal elements, and you fucking abhor criminals, but he is talking about purging them, so I guess I can't be mad. I guess we're probably going to see what happens here. But, now you see why he destroyed it? Yeah, I can see why he destroyed it now. That makes a lot more sense. Those cooked humans and Xenos didn't surrender, so true. On the pain scale, being burned alive is the worst pain human can experience. Yeah, being burned alive is like the fucking, like, I don't know, like, I can think of a lot of awful ways to, like, die, but burning alive just seems so fucking painful. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, comparison to that, really. I don't know if a mentor would have made a difference on that planet. I don't know if any Primarch would have worked out on that world. I don't know, man. Again, I think, like, Angron would have actually genuinely probably had a good chance on that world. It would have been hard for him, but I think just the way he was, assuming he didn't get the nails in his head, he probably would have started his own, like, little criminal fucking gang, whatever the hell. And even though, like, it would have been scuffed in its own way, I think he would have been for the greater good. I don't think he would have just, like, because Angron, like, genuinely just wanted, like, Angron actually got a mentor, in a sense. And as long as he had somebody decent to guide him, he wasn't just going to psychotically start killing people and murdering them for the most petty of crimes. Like, I think he actually could have, like, made it work in a sense. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but...
Sevatar had never met the Raven Lord, only seen him from a distance, and he had never seen the Night Haunter and Korax side by side. It was said they were brothers, cast in the same mold, and truly the similarities between them were astonishing. Their skin shared death's pallor, their eyes were sinister orbs of ink, the Raven Lord's completely black, the Lord of Murder's barely less so, only a touch of white either side of his enlarged pupils. Both carried talons of steel, both evoked winged creatures of darkness, one Chiroptian, the other Avian. Both were masters of the dark. Their facial features were markedly fraternal. Long, thin noses, narrow faces, high cheekbones, sharp chins, jet black hair. The differences were starker for the similarities. Curze was filthy and stank of blood. Korax was clean, his armor polished, but it was their expressions that they diverged the most. Corvus Korax bore a perpetual light frown, an expression of such utmost seriousness it strayed into caricature. Curze's face changed constantly, small ticks, transforming it from arch knowingness to wild-eyed threat. Signs of the incipient madness that, even then, Sevatar was becoming aware of. The possibility of violence.
So they are talking about the
glass,
madness there,
which any sudden movement might shatter. Two lords of men, one midnight clad, the other armored in shadow, stared at one another. Distant rumbling sent dying tremors through the building. As the bombardment
I'm
moved
assuming
on
these
to the
guys
other
are going to get along
districts,
pretty well.
Korax broke the silence first.
What is the meaning of this, my brother?
He said, gesturing meter-long claws at the mess of the slain.
What happened to your warriors?
Unable to help himself, the Night Haunter snarled. He caught it and turned it into a mocking smile, but not before all present had seen his anger. He was a predator challenged by something just as dangerous. For a moment, Konrad Curze exhibited weakness.
I happened to them.
said Curze evenly. Korax
Damn.
looked over the ruined flesh in the room in disbelief.
What have you done?
Curze smiled blackly.
So maybe he's not gonna fucking agree with this here. That could, you know, I saw it and I thought like, okay, they're kind of carbon. They're obviously not like the same, but they are like in the same likeness of each other. So I thought maybe they would think the same attunement here, and maybe after he Konrad explains it, maybe he'll see it from his view. But yeah, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I guess they're really not seeing eye to eye on this one. He's actually calling him out on it, killing your own guys like that. Corvus is also a good guy. They hate each other. Yeah, okay, they seems like they hate each other. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
What have you done?
Curze smiled blackly.
An internal
Want to learn more?
dispute,
Want
Lord
to learn more about Corvus?
He
Yeah,
said airily.
A legion matter.
they're both emos.
that I
Yeah,
have
that's kind of why I
resolved.
thought they'd get along, but
You must
makes sense why they don't too.
understand there are many criminals in your legion also. You have your ways of dealing with those who stray too far from the bounds of good conduct.
He poked a blade of mercy through the shattered eye lens of a helm and held it up for Korax to see.
This is mine.
Korax's eyes lingered on the blood staining Curze's chin.
Then perhaps you could tell me why you are bombarding this already compliant sector.
This Raven Lord has fought most of his brothers.
Already compliant.
Let our Lord teach him a lesson.
For Vox Sevatar.
I say we fight.
Do not open fire.
Sevatar ordered. The muted clicks on the Raven's Voxes intruded on their frequency, a sure sign the Ravens were also communing with each other. From their stance, he guessed their conversation was going the same way. Curze shifted his weight imperceptibly.
So they're literally having a
Korax
standoff
reacted
here in a sense.
kind.
Goddamn.
His fingers twitched a fraction of a millimeter. The pair of them appeared at ease, but they were a hair's breadth away from striking. Don't, Curze, thought Sevatar. Don't fight him. Curze narrowed his eyes, crinkled with a smile. A little tension bled from the room.
We are the weapon of fear no other legion dared to be. We are the glorious 8th. You think
Wow.
I am a monster? I am a simple tool, like you. We have different uses, though identical edges.
I do not think anything about you, other than the disgust I feel for your methods.
Said
Oh,
Korax. Curze shrugged.
You may join the line of all the others who feel the same.
I'm definitely seeing like where this hatred's coming from now. Yeah, two emos, as you guys said, and these two emos definitely do not get along. And obviously, guys, if you guys are watching along, make sure you hit that like button right now. Do everyone a favor, hit that like button. Really helps the channel out, really helps the live stream out. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. But yeah, let's keep on. Also, make sure you come down, join the Discord if you haven't already. It's good to see you guys there. So come on down, join the Discord. Let's continue on with the video. Got to get that little plug in.
You may join the line of all the others who feel the same. I don't care. I am exactly as the Emperor intended me to be. Are you really any better than I, Korax Shadow Skulker? The 19th are assassins. We are all killers. We are brothers in methods as well as in blood.
Our way is clean.
Said Korax. Sevatar found his voice annoyingly lugubrious. Such misery. They said he was
Lugubrious.
raised in a prison.
I've never heard of that word.
accounted for his saturnine demeanor.
Oh.
Sevatar wanted to hurl him into the deeps of Nostromo's hives, so he might better learn what lawlessness was.
Damn.
Self-obsessed, unable to see the truth for their own aggrandized woes. Curze was lonely in being true to himself. He was a fiend, but at least he was honest.
No war is clean. All of them come with a price.
That's
Curze
true.
continued.
Some are more obvious than others, that is all, and the price must always be paid.
Curze sighed, shrinking into himself, bored.
War's reckoning awaits you. Do you wish to know the cost?
Corax's black, unreadable eyes rested on Curze for several seconds.
I will return to my ship. Stop this bombardment. The conquest is falling behind schedule. We risk turning the population further from the Emperor's light.
Yeah.
I think you'll find them most pliable when I am done,
said Curze.
See, the problem is like when he's done. But obviously, while this whole operation is taking place, yeah, nobody is going to fucking like being tortured, watching people get tortured, hearing these stories. I'm sure that must be fucking absolutely debilitating. So it's like, yeah, maybe by time he's done, but that could take time. But honestly, his efficiency is very fucking good. So I'm sure it doesn't even take that long for him to just rack up the fear points instantly on a world that he comes to. Corax hated Curze because he felt that Curze was the example of what happened if he gave into his rage and hatred. The classic, "You're one bad day away from being me." I could see that.
You'll find them most pliable when I am done,
said Curze.
My Lord Curze.
Sevatar said stiffly and severed the vox.
My Lord Night Haunter, what are your orders?
Sevatar asked the question as neutrally as he could, belying his concern that the answer might result in a command to hunt down their allies.
Let them go,
said Curze sadly.
Now is not the time for us to kill our brethren.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of time for that later. The Horus Heresy, and by later I of course mean right now, obviously.
Droll thing life is. That mysterious arrangement of merciless logic for a futile purpose. The most you can hope from it is some knowledge of yourself. That comes too late. A crop of inextinguishable regrets. But his soul was mad. Being alone in the wilderness, it had looked within itself. And, by heavens I tell you, it had gone mad.
Damn.
He hated him, his mirror, his brother, the Raven Lord, Corvus Corax.
Oh, there it is.
Both of them had grown up on worlds overrun by criminals. Both had that innate sense of justice bound into their very DNA.
Yeah, you'd think they would really get along, but no.
Shadow. Two men cast
too similar that they're
but Konrad
bound to
him.
Never get along.
Hated how Corax was lauded and accepted. The Raven Lord had incinerated a world in his rise to the role of Primarch. Millions dead, but yet he was
Only
chastised
millions?
for torturing thousands. Why did his father, the Emperor of Mankind, not give him a path like the Raven Lords? The journey Konrad was following filled him with resentment, because after a near century of constant warfare, the cracks were beginning to show. His soul was mad. Being alone in the wilderness, it had looked within itself, and by heavens, I tell you, it had gone mad.
But I feel like he's doing that to
Of
himself.
his moral compass, devoid of human love, the superhuman demigod Konrad Curze, for all his elevation above the mortal man, he was still human. And no person who had murdered, tortured and genocided as many as he had could still retain sanity.
No.
He had become the Night Haunter.
I feel like his very first fucking tag, goddamn, like, you know, kind of sealed his sanity very, very tightly there. Like, holy shit, you know, again, emerging in the world being no more than like, I don't know, a couple hours old at that point, like born, like alive, walking. And you've already caught a body, absorbed their fucking memories after eating their brain. That's so fucking metal, dude. Like, I assume that right away would have just fucked you up.
Could still retain sanity. He had become the Night Haunter.
We're gonna watch Corvus next week. I think this week we're gonna hold another vote, another poll, another community poll, and you guys can vote on it.
His mind was cursed with doubt.
But yeah, Corvus is gonna be one of those options for sure on that poll.
The degradation of the Legion, its perverse new recruits, the re-emergence of crime on Nostromo, his desensitized veterans, and the visions. He still saw his own death. He still saw death and destruction. A time when legionary and brother would kill each other. Even a time when he had a particularly violent vision where he saw the future monstrosity he was destined to become. Squirming
Future
and
monstrosity?
lashing out,
He's already a
screaming
monstrosity.
in pain, horrified by his future. He awoke out of his trance, and he realized he had murdered one of his archivists. He had killed his first innocent person. Someone who he had no evidence of crimes for. There was no justice in his death. He was a criminal now. Perhaps he really did deserve the fate he was due.
Wait, only just now is he saying like, oh no, I've killed an innocent? Bro, like, didn't it just say before, like, he killed innocents, but after eating their brains, seeing their memories, he just basically justified it as in, like, I saw something that they did, I saw a crime that they did. Isn't that how he kind of justified it before? So, goddamn. He is by seeing himself as a puppet and fate, pointing strings, pulling himself. Then doing path. Unable to believe to leave the path. Yeah. He gets worse. Yeah. I'm assuming he's just on a downhill spiral from here, if I had to assume.
He was
definitely
falling.
Seems like it.
Even his closest sons, Shang and Sevitar, could see it. He was vulnerable, and turned to the one person he felt he could confide in. Fulgrim, the brother who had guided him. The only brother who had looked him in the eye
that he's close
on
with
the day they had
Fulgrim.
met. Perhaps his only
He's
friend.
nuts, yeah.
It was a defiance of destiny. Perhaps if he told his brother, then he was free from the future he saw. Maybe he wasn't to become the disheveled monster he had seen when he was a boy. But he was betrayed. Fulgrim had told Dawn everything. His confidence, his secrecy, his vulnerability was betrayed.
Really?
We all
Fulgrim just
know
spills the beans?
Confusion, pain, and hate caused when the person we trusted turns their back on us.
Wow.
Dawn chastised Konrad. How dare he speak of betrayals against the Emperor? In the mass of judgment and anger, Konrad was struck by another horrifying vision. Pain shot all over his body as images of a future of fire and blood ravaged his mind. He became a wild beast and began lashing out. The raving Konrad launched himself at Dawn, beating the surprised Primarch to a pulp. Butchering several of his imperial fists too.
Wow.
Shame and regret crept back into the devolving mind of Konrad as the vision ceased and the Lord of the
Interesting
Eighth
that shame is like something he even feels at this point, because holy shit, he just beat Dorn's ass and killed some of his men in his presence. That's fucked up right there. And this is like over what? Just him getting a vision? Holy shit, yeah, he seems nuts. He seems absolutely like he's losing it here. He's losing the fucking motive.
Anguish turning
People
in his
meme on him, but
chest
Fulgrim was well
from the
liked.
betrayal of Fulgrim and for what he had done. Returning to the 8th Legion, Konrad was sick of it all. He had come to his brother to confide in him about the future and his legion, but he was met with betrayal. His legion was becoming corrupt, straying further and further from the ideals and teachings he had ingrained in them. That accursed world, Nostromo. He hated everything about it, and now it was corrupting his philosophy, his justification of all the deeds he had done. It needed to be stopped. Konrad assembled the
blow it
entire
up.
Night Lord's fleet. Arriving in the Ultima Segmentum, the shadow of an entire legion loomed over the dark world of Nostromo. A legion full of warriors looked at the place of their birth, the world they had grown up on, the place where their families lived, where their culture thrived, and then they burned it. Konrad ordered lancing strikes deep into the core of the planet, breaking it apart, Millions of screams lost into the void of space.
Only millions?
Those that had resisted their orders were
Gotta be
butchered
billions,
by
right?
Konrad's ever-loyal son, Sevitar, until the weakness was cold. Was it justice or vengeance?
Definitely
That code
vengeance.
forged in the dark, killing
100%
the few to
vengeance.
save the
I don't think
many.
any question.
But where was that?
Definitely
Did all
vengeance.
Nostramans deserve to die? Even those who had done no crimes? No, it was all corrupt. It had to be, or what he had done, or what he had just done, was a crime.
Yeah.
Condemnation.
I'd say that was
poured
quite the
in from
crime.
Throne of terror.
Definitely
For
quite the
decades,
crime.
sentiment had mounted. Forces refused to fight with the Eighth. For decades, brother legions had begun to be openly hostile. And then the word came. The Emperor was recalling the Eighth back to Terra to face judgment.
Oh.
After all they had sacrificed, they had become the monsters to save lives.
Game Workshop
For
doesn't
over a
understand numbers,
century,
ignore
the
it,
Emperor
okay.
had known their way of war, not afraid to utilize his terror.
At this point, he could be
unit when the
diagnosed with
hint of rebellion
schizophrenia. I could
came,
believe that.
Condemning Konrad from enacting justice on that corrupted homeworld. He had made Konrad and them this way, only to act so above it. Konrad and the Eighth were angry, disillusioned, and it was at the height of this discontent that Horus arrived.
Horus is gonna fucking change it all around.
I have seen darkness.
Horus is gonna whisper
witnessed
sweet
it in
nothings
my
into his ear.
dreams. I am standing at the edge of a chasm. There is no escaping it. I know my fate, for it is the future, and nothing can prevent it coming to pass. So I step off and welcome the dark. The visions were coming true. The time for brother and legionary to kill each other had come. Horus Lupercal, favored son of the Emperor, had been corrupted by foul entities of the warp. Dark gods, created from the negative emotions of sentient
The
life.
losses in some of the biggest
Horus
intergalactic
came
battles
to
of 40k are
Konrad,
less than
whispering
battles in our
sweet
own world.
words
Yeah, they don't
designed
get
to
numbers.
target the
Yeah, that's something I've noticed about like 40k, and it's not really like a diss on it, but like definitely the numbers, and I'm sure it gets better with like the newer sort of content for sure. But on like some of the older novels and books, and from what I've heard, kind of thing, it's like yeah, they really get the numbers wrong. Like when you're talking a hive city is like billions of people, and then you're talking about we're burning a world and only millions are dying. That doesn't make any sense. Like in our current world, and we're not even like overpopulated to an extent, depending on what you believe, I suppose. I don't really want to get into that, but we're not really like bursting to the brim on the world with overpopulation. We don't have like these mega hive cities like they do in 40k, where it is literally billions upon billions of people living on top of each other. We don't have anything just like that yet. But we already have 8 billion people on our planet. So to say that an entire world is getting burnt, especially one of that size, and saying only millions of people are dying, kind of crazy, you know? That's all it is. Always been shit on numbers? Oh, so is it still like that even nowadays? Fulgrim was a pretty decent guy. It changed when he picked up that sword.
Came to
Damn.
Konrad, whispering sweet words designed to target the ego and anger the Eighth was feeling.
Trillions probably
Something
potentially on a
Konrad
planet
knew
that
was
size.
unnecessary.
Yeah, I could see
He
that.
had seen his betrayal of
That
the
sounds
Emperor.
right.
His prescience had shown him he had no choice but to join the rebellion. It was destined. Upon the world of Istvan 5, brothers clash in a battle
Saying
so
that him
violent
joining the
that to bear
rebellion
witness
is
to the
destined is fucking
cacophony
crazy,
of
bro.
death will destroy your sanity. The Salamanders, Iron Hands,
Older
and
books are
Raven
worse with
Guard
numbers, but it
retreating to
primarily
their
depends on
allied
the author.
lines, wounded and beaten, hailed for their reinforcements. But a cold, eerie silence met them, and then the tension was finally broken. The Word Bearers, Alpha Legion, Iron Warriors, and Night Lords opened fired. Konrad and his sons tore into their fellow Hastatis, ripping them apart. Amongst the heat, smoke, and blood, Konrad was slaughtering the loyalist warriors of the Emperor. To witness his speed and prowess was like death itself, reaping souls. His
Wow.
sons around him screaming the battle cry, that had originated from his favorite son, Sevatar. Death to the false emperor.
Wow.
It was then that Konrad found them, his brothers, seeing Lorgar, that weakling priest, impaled on the claws of the ones he hated most, and he chose to intervene. Two black, pitless eyes met each other.
Not
the two
Lorgar.
brothers, cast from the very same die, locked their power claws together. It must have felt good to see the one who had looked down upon him shattered and wounded, confused by the betrayal. The Raven Lord, Corvus Corax. Wounded and deep in enemy lines, the Raven Lord made his choice and retreated, a decision that would haunt him forever. The battle had turned into a massacre, one of the greatest defeats the Imperium would ever know, but the sensation of victory was slightly tainted. Amidst the violence and betrayal,
and this is on Istvan 5, so obviously we know what comes very shortly after this. This is during all that fighting in that system. Interesting that Lorgar got fucking... Konrad saved Lorgar, yeah. Literally, I was about to say, like, it's funny that Lorgar was literally getting his ass beat, and then fucking Konrad has to come in and save him there. Now I get why he saved Lorgar. I was wondering why he gave a crap when I was reading. Got a little bit more context for you guys. See, it's not just useful for me, you know. I gotta follow along on these videos. It's very useful context and lore for anybody who doesn't know exactly, and even just for those who have maybe seen this. A nice little refresher, you know. Lots of lore out there in 40k, so you know, bound to forget little tidbits here and there. So it's always good to have a refresher.
Victory was
Drop site massacre,
tainted.
yeah.
Amidst the violence and betrayal, the 8th Legion had seen something unnerving. They had seen how some of the word...
Yeah, the massacre in Istvan is something else. This is Istvan
nightmare.
5. Istvan 3 is the drop site massacre. I know that. It's a different battle. I know that.
Creatures.
This comes like
Lorgar
it comes after.
Aurelian,
I believe.
wreathed in a vile
Istvan 3
psychic
comes after
flame.
5, I believe.
There was something unclean about them. Konrad, Sevatar, and the Night Lords were beginning to see that there was more to this rebellion. Konrad's disgust at his brother and fellow conspirators was quickly overshadowed by an invaluable prize. Vulcan, the Primarch of the Salamanders, unconscious. The brother who had condemned him decades ago during the Great Crusade found himself strapped to the torturer's table. The sight of Konrad to Vulcan filled him with disgust. The disheveled mess that was his brother looked awful. He was filthy, covered in dried blood. He was prone to twitching and muttering to himself. His features appeared even more gaunt. Was he speaking to Konrad or the Night Haunter? Konrad began to brutally torture his brother, occasionally hearing whispers in his
Holy
head,
shit.
at times succumbing to more violent visions.
So he finds his brother and just immediately capitalizes on the opportunity to torture his ass like the second he can. And we know this isn't the end of Vulcan. Vulcan keeps coming back. He's like the gift that keeps on fucking giving. But holy shit, I didn't realize this happened to him. This part was messed up. Oof, here it comes. Did I pause at a very opportune time here? Because like, my fucking god, holy shit, like he is about to torture fucking Vulcan here. I don't remember which came first, 3 or 5, but first was the destruction of the Loyalist members of the traitor legions on the planet, then later the betrayal of the Loyalist legions at the drop site massacre. Yeah, I do recall that as well, yeah.
Hearing whispers in his head. At times,
Kinda wish Lorgar
succumbing to
died so he
more
couldn't turn
violent
Aegron into a
visions
demon
in
prince.
between decimating his brother's form. Konrad had been created a monster. His father had made them all like this. If only the oh-so-proud Vulcan would admit it. If Vulcan had been in his place, he would have done all the same vile acts he was condemning him for.
I don't know about
Konrad's
all that.
horrific torture of Vulcan ramped up.
I think you're
Physical
just
and psychological
like a
pain,
sociopath,
but
man.
even a Primarch
You were a psychopath
couldn't
from the
endure,
get-go.
placing him in situations where he was forced to take innocent life.
Torture is an
against his
understatement.
will. Were
Yeah.
these people even criminals? Konrad's mental state was declining. He would twist scenarios where empathy and kindness was shown into unwinnable death games. Perhaps his soul was mad.
And see, it also like makes me think like again, like what business did the Emperor have putting Primarchs like this in charge of legions? Like, especially one where like, you know, this guy has precognitions. Like, you made him. If you're the Emperor, right, you must have known that he had these, right? You gave him and you made him with that ability. So the fact that like, you know, he's putting somebody that could like potentially even revolt at all. I guess it gives credence to the fact that maybe the Emperor did like know the heresy was going to happen, but just wasn't utterly prepared for it. But he was trying to like pit some of the Primarchs against each other to eventually take them out, thin their numbers, and get the troublesome ones out of the way after the crusade had been won. I think that's possible. But like, again, he's completely unhinged and like, from the get-go was unhinged, so it's just crazy to me.
Vulcan was the most human of all their brothers. He represented all the goodness in humanity, something that if acknowledged by
foresaw that half his
Curze
sons
would
would
call
turn
into
traitor.
question his horrific
But not
acts,
which ones
because
specifically,
then
is that
he
the key there?
killed people, not the panicky criminal beasts he made them out to be. And Vulcan had to turn, had to show his true nature, that he was a monster deep down. Because if he wasn't, then Curze had chosen to be one. His mind was devolving further.
Curze already
his
did choose to
frustration
be one.
fueling the degradation, until finally he snapped.
It was like the first
killing
one he
his
did.
brother in rage.
Or the first thing he
but
did.
to his horror, Vulcan began to regenerate. Vulcan lived. Konrad's sanity snapped. Unable to
That's
deliver
hilarious.
death, the punishment in his form of justice, it made him scream. Combined with the fact that his father had gifted Vulcan with immortality, whilst he had been born a monster.
That's
Konrad
hilarious.
began to kill Vulcan again and again. Was it justice, vengeance, or anger? It was lost in the maelstrom of madness.
I just want to say it's not funny. He's getting brutally killed and like murdered time and time again. But like, just the fact that he can't like kill him, it's like breaking his fucking mind. He's like, just fucking die, and it's just like snapping him further and further. I think that's fucking hilarious. Like, I don't know.
After months of mind-numbingly brutal treatment,
Months.
Vulcan escaped.
And he
beating Konrad
escaped.
into an inch of his life.
What?
And then worst of all,
Holy shit.
sparing him, giving the monster his pity.
Ooh.
The crumbled, broken mess that was Konrad did not have long to wallow in his head.
So he James Bond his way out of there, escaped, and then beat his ass and let him live. That's some metal shit right there, man. Wow. Gotta give some props to Vulcan right there. That's like the ultimate like slap in the face.
Crumbled, broken mess that was Konrad did not have long to wallow in his haze. The War Master Horus had ordered the 8th Legion to the eastern fringes.
The Thramas Crusade.
Lord,
He asked after several minutes of silence had gone by.
Speak, Sev.
why do you hate us?
He asked it quietly, carefully, with no hint of offense or malice. The words still stopped Curze in his tracks, causing him to turn. The long blades curving from each of the Primarch's knuckles reflected the golden light of the Emperor's halo, several streets away.
What?
Sevitar spoke just as casually as before.
Why are you the only Primarch to hate his legion? What have we done to you?
Curze
Damn.
smiled, barely.
I spoke.
Why are you the only Primarch to hate his legion? Oh, you sweet summer child. He doesn't know, guys. Guys, he doesn't know. Angron, like, actually fucking hates his legion. Like, my boy, you might think he hates you. He doesn't hate you. He just doesn't respect you. Angron fucking hated his legion. Angron fucking despised his legion. You want to talk about hating your children. God damn. You guys have it easy in a sense, almost,
have we done
like,
to
from
you?
what I've seen.
Curze smiled.
6 of you didn't get
barely.
butchered
I
upon
spoke
your first
with
meeting.
Angron and Lorgar not long ago. They told me of their purges, cleansing the untrustworthy elements from the 12th and 17th. I laughed when they said it, at the sheer absurdity of the idea. They knew exactly when to stop the killing of the weak, the treacherous, and the corrupt within their bloodlines. I wouldn't even know where to begin culling mine.
Damn.
Sevatar snorted in dismissal.
On any other day, such words might hurt my feelings.
Look around you.
Curze said.
You were born on this world. You grew to adulthood here just as I did. The Emperor praised me for my rule over this world. Even Fulgrim admired it. A model of compliance. An obedient world, they said. Were my people
Well,
happy?
flawed.
Did
Very
that
flawed,
even
though.
matter? I made these people human despite their feral drives. I made them civilized despite their baser instincts. I raised them above the level of beasts. That was my responsibility to them as a superior being, and I fulfilled it.
Curze looked at the grey spires, rising in every direction, and the frozen smog from the foundries and manufactorums, veiling the spire tops in a haze of pollutant smoke.
And see how my people rewarded me. I was gone only a handful of years before everything soured.
He said a handful of years. He was gone like decades in reality, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure when it referenced decades. But the Great Crusade itself took place over hundreds of years, like centuries, right? So, like, I think it was like, what, 100, 200 years, the Great Crusade total took place over. I could be wrong. So he wasn't really gone a handful of years at all. He was gone quite a while, I believe.
My own homeworld.
Angron doesn't hate his legion. He hates seeing himself in his legion. I don't know. I think he
as soldiers, violators,
even before they took the nails, Angron still fucking didn't like them. He still had no reason to like them. He still had no reason to want to lead them. Had no loyalty towards them. I don't think he liked them, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion, though, maybe.
Recruits who were worthless as soldiers, violators, murderers, thieves, the scum, the dregs, the detritus.
Sevatar almost laughed.
Sire, you are no different. The Legion is disorderly and vile because it's cast in your image.
Literally.
No.
Curze drenched the single syllable in regret.
No, you don't understand. I've never claimed to be perfect, Sevatar, but I became the sinner, the monster, the night haunter, so my people would never have to. And look at the result. Look at the recruits from Nostramo.
Look at the
results.
results.
A decade after I departed.
Exactly. Like, you can just sit there and say, look at the results, and the results are that you tried it your way and it didn't work at the end of the day, you know? Like, I think that's the biggest, like, takeaway from all this is, like, he's stuck in his own way. Like, he did it his way, and it clearly it's the lack of quality in his troops, his Astartes, it's noticeable, and he's not proud of what he has to offer. And, like, if that's the case, then your way is just not working. Like, I think you need to come to that realization, right?
The recruits from Nostramo, less than a decade after I departed. Look at the filth they sent me. Look at the disgusting dregs of humanity my own apothecaries infused with my genetic material and reforged into transhumans. The eighth is poisoned, Sev. Generations of men who are murderers in my image, yet devoid of my conviction. They are killers and abusers because they want to be, not because someone had to be.
The end result is the same.
Said Sevatar.
Makes sense.
Fear is the weapon.
Fear is supposed to be the means to the end. Look at the bloodshed my legion has wrought.
World
these
Eaters
last
is my
years,
army. I play.
Even before the crusade was done.
He hates them because they
Fear
willingly
the end
became
itself.
slaves.
It was all
He
they
did everything to
desired.
please them.
They fed.
Did
on
everything
it.
to please him, which
My sons were strong.
got opposite effect because
so they
he is a
bled the
slave.
weak
He only
for their
liked
own
Karn.
amusement.
Yeah.
Tell me, Captain, where the nobility is in that.
Where is the nobility in any of this?
Sevatar gestured to the streets of Nostramo Quintus.
Perturbo, Angron, Mortarion, Lorgar. The Emperor could have done better with them. Curze, I don't know there was hope for him. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't see where the hope lies for Curze here. Like, he definitely seems like somebody that is unhinged and was from the get-go. Like, I really don't see what the grand plan for him could have been.
Around them.
You can claim
could have gave Curze therapy. I mean, that might have worked, honestly.
This is far more savage than noble.
Curze's pale lips peeled back from his filed teeth.
There was no other way.
No?
Sevatar answered his father's snarl with a grin.
What other ways did you try?
Sevatar.
Answer me, father. What politics of peace did you teach? What scientific and social illumination did you bring to this society? In your quest for a human utopia, what other ways did you try beyond eating the flesh of stray dogs and skinning people alive?
That's exactly what I just said.
The only way.
No, it wasn't.
Sevatar laughed again.
The only way to do what? The only way to bring a population to heal? How then did the other Primarchs manage it?
Literally.
How has world upon world managed it, with resorting to butchering children and broadcasting their screams across the planetary voxnets?
Wow.
Their worlds were never as serene as mine was.
And the serenity of yours died the first second your back was turned. So tell me again how you succeeded. Tell me again how this all worked.
Exactly. How did it work?
Curze was on him
at
in
all?
the time it took to blink.
Oh,
the
wow.
hand wrapped around his throat.
So, see, this is how you know you're spilling like fact on somebody, is when they get aggressive. He's hitting him right where it hurts, and suddenly now he's got to get all physical. And it's because he's a little bitch, you know what I'm saying? It's because he knows that he's wrong.
The time it took to blink. The Primarch's hand wrapped around his throat. lifting
Sevatar
him
has
from the
balls. He
ground,
really does, yeah.
stealing his breath.
You overstep your bounds, First Captain.
Ooh.
How can you lie to me like this?
Sevatar's voice was a strangled growl.
How can you lie to yourself? I stand here inside your mind, witnessing a theater of your own memories. Your way is the 8th Legion way now, but it has never been
Literally the audience
way.
talking to Konrad at this
Just
point. That's what it feels
the
like.
easiest way.
Curze tightened his grip. Sevatar narrowed his eyes, his last breath escaping as Curze squeezed.
You enjoyed this way.
The captain hissed.
You came to love it, just as we all did. The power, the righteousness.
Curze released him. Sevatar crashed to the ground, his armor joints snarling as his ceramite scraped the rockcrete.
Son of a...
He trailed off,
Nah.
catching his breath.
The son of a god.
Curze said softly.
Get up, Sevatar. Leave me be.
The first captain rose to his feet.
Get up and leave me
his
be,
vision
Sevatar.
blurred.
I don't want to hear any more of your truths.
Not without you.
Oh,
Curze smiled. His son could see that much, at least.
I admire your tenacity, I always have. But you are a shadow of what I am, Sevatar. You cannot match me. Go.
Sevatar filled his lungs, the sterile air viciously cold as he drew it in.
true. Straight up says you cannot match me. That's completely true, obviously. And Sevatar there, he does seem like a fucking real one, and he does seem to be laying down the law, telling a Primarch what he should hear and what he should listen to. And again, Konrad fucking got pretty aggro there, and I think that's because he recognizes he's onto something. He's telling the truth. Goddamn. He has reason. Why he is liked? Yeah.
He hated them, his so-called sons. He had taken his philosophy of justice, crafted from his interpretation of a serene society, cloaked by an Nostraman worldview, and spread it to his legion. They had become torturers, icons of fear and terror, bringing justice to those who deserved it. And to create a human utopia, a very quiet and serene future, where the little humans stayed in line. It was
Damn.
the way the Emperor had made him, but his legion no longer killed for justice. They were simply enjoying it.
killing
After
the
the
kill.
escape of Vulcan, Conrad and the Night Lords headed to the eastern fringes.
Like father, like
set
son,
to
though. That's
engage
exactly
Lionel
what they're
Johnson
doing
and his
in
Dark
his image, in a
Angels.
sense.
A strategy to delay the First Legion.
What's the difference
and allow
to anyone
Horus
else,
to
you know?
strike at terror. Conrad and the Eighth launched themselves at world upon world, cutting a swath across various worlds of the newly forged Imperium. Populations of billions would find their skies darkened by supposed allies, only to realize the horror when warriors in midnight clad started butchering them.
Damn.
Conrad, fulfilling the path he had seen in his prescience, slaughtered and killed without restraint, witnessing his so-called sons enjoy the slaughter and torture, but he did nothing. He saw no path where fate made him intervene. He just watched and judged. Even when he would snap and kill innocents, it was different for him. He justified it. Any who had died were destined to do so. His father had made him this way.
Destined to do so. They talk about destiny so much, and I think it's just, again, it's fucked that he could see all these outcomes, but he was so far in his way that he never believed that they could change in any sense. Like he could change the outcome of what was going to happen. Like, again, you have precognition, you can see the future, but no willingness to change it or put it all on the table and try to do something about it. No, I'm just gonna let it play out, and what happens happens.
His
That's
father
basically
had
his mentality.
crafted his fate, so it was his fault. Their blood was on his hands. But the slaughter was not unchallenged. The Lion and the Dark Angels for years chased the 8th Legion. Hundreds of battles were fought in the ashes of ruined worlds, as legionaries butchered each other. The Thramos Crusade was raging across the eastern fringes for years, until Conrad finally bade the Lion to meet face to face on the barren world of Desolga. Descending down to the surface with just an honor guard, the two Primarchs met face to face. To see the two superhumans side by side was incredible. One the chiseled face of Terran perfection, the other a gaunt, dark king, both intimidating.
Vampire
but yet
lord, like, straight up.
awe-inspiring. The sight of Curze shocked the Lion. His appearance reflected the heart within. A disheveled, pale, gaunt man stared back at the Lion, showing a murderous smile with filed teeth. The brothers spoke, Curze attempting to convince the Lion of the truth, that their father was a liar, a manipulator, that this rebellion had revealed his hypocrisy, that Horus had shown him the secrets of the warp. But he did this in vain. He had seen that he would not sway his brother. A genuine sadness emerged from underneath his mad features. A tragic glimpse of the person, of Conrad, the man behind the Night Haunter. Only
Interesting talking how he won't sway his brother. There's no chance that he actually, like, he's seen that it's infallible. Like, his willingness to not change, even though he's seen these outcomes, even though he's seen what can potentially happen, he's not willing to give an inch on what he thinks is a for sure. And at this point, he's already in the heresy. He's already let it happen. He's already in there, you know? Like, he's not proud of his legion. He knows that his legion is killing just to kill, torturing just to torture. And at this point, he's already too far in it to back out now, I think. So it's like, fuck.
Of Conrad, the man behind the Night Haunter. Only Conrad and the Lion had grown up alone, devoid of the warmth of human connection. They alone understood what it was like to see the galaxy unfiltered. At the onset of the Great Crusade, Curze had been the Dark King, the cruel Primarch in midnight clad, who cowed the enemies of the Imperium. A man who held so strict to his code that he knew when to stop. But the creature before the Lion was nothing like that. Perhaps never noble, but once sane. The lion apologized to Konrad and then stabbed him in the gut.
Oh.
A vicious duel broke out, reigniting the conflict. Brother versus brother. Legionary.
So he kind of got a cheap shot in there a little bit.
For years, the conflict continued until Konrad and the 8th found themselves caught in a Dark Angel's ambush.
Ooh.
Konrad was captured after a brutal duel with the lion. Wounded and defeated, Konrad awoke upon the Dark Angel's flagship, restrained like a wild animal. But no cage could truly hold a Primarch for long. Konrad was locked within a comatose state until he was reunited with his favored son and first captain Sevatar. Utilizing his emergic psychic powers, Sevatar entered his Gene Father's broken mind, baiting him with the unspoken truth designed to reawaken his lord. Why? Why did he hate his sons so much? They were his creation. His philosophy of justice was a joke. The minute the Night Haunter was gone, humanity overcame their fear.
Literally.
War lived through his methods, but the Night Haunter's peace was a joke. He was just like the sons he detested so much.
That's hilarious.
He enjoyed the killing, the torture, the brutality.
It shows just how like paper tiger that idea is like, yeah, the instant you're gone, like, yeah, the fear is not there anymore. The instant that boogeyman is gone, or that he's shown to be just a boogeyman, or a killable boogeyman at least, like, yeah, like your facade is gone. I think that's really interesting. He doesn't go into detail, but after he stabbed Konrad beat his ass and the lion had to be saved. Oh, damn. Yeah, that I wonder why he didn't like mention that. Like, that's a pretty big piece, I feel like. God damn.
He enjoyed the killing, the torture, the brutality, the tearing down of his father's kingdom. That was the truth behind all his madness. The reason he enjoyed all the evil he had done, and the hate he had for this cruel universe, was because he hated himself. He hated himself because he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it all. The words reached into Konrad, awakening the mad mind back into reality. And
well, at least he hates
costing
himself because he
Sevatar his
enjoys
life.
it.
Even with all the hypocrisy and dressing down of his Primarch, Konrad's son was still loyal, perhaps both a traitor and a fool. Darting off into the bow of the Dark Angel ship,
also
once
incredibly
again,
strong.
Konrad became
Seems like
the
it.
figure of terror in the shadows, hunting the Dark Angel just like he had stalked the population on Nostromo.
Damn.
But it would all change soon. Sailing
You really
to
want
the only
Konrad
beacon
stalking
of
you
hope,
down? Even
the
if you're
Dark
another Primarch?
Angels
I don't think so.
arrived above Macragge.
That's a lot of smoke. Oh, wow, and he went and fought at Macragge. Okay.
You know I hate, detest, and can't bear a lie. Not because I am straighter than the rest of us, but simply because it appalls me. There is a taint of death, a flavor of mortality in lies, which is exactly what I hate and detest in the world, what I want to forget.
You are repugnant,
said Sanguinius.
So pretty.
Wow.
So stupid.
Sanguinius is getting his licks in now.
Favored cockerel preening in the hen coop. Is monstrousness not rather the point of me?
That's a cool
Curze
illustration of
replied bitterly.
Sanguinius.
Tell me, brother. I am curious.
Not gonna lie, Curze is
Are
the
you
most
one of the
inconsistent
ones who
Primarch in
believe
terms
our
of fighting.
scattering
Sometimes
is
he's portrayed as
chance,
being able
or
to
one of the
best the
ones who
line
do
and literally
not?
1v2 the
I
line and
think
Guilliman
is
to him
in the latter
being
camp.
beaten later.
I can see the thought ticking around.
That's one thing I will say I've noticed with the Primarchs is sometimes their power levels seem a little bit inconsistent. Like sometimes they're like as you say there, David, like they're 2v1ing each other, but then other times it's like in one shot they're just like taken out of commission. It's very, very weird at times, is what I will say, and I do notice that for sure.
Gilliman is in the latter camp. I can see the thought ticking around that tedious track of a mind he has, like a rodent in a maze, desperate to find a different way out, but knowing there is only one exit, and a feline waits without.
Ooh.
Tick, tick, tick.
He cackled, raking his talons
The
slowly
riders
through
choose
the
how
air.
powerful they are.
Claws on the walls.
That makes sense, I guess.
You came to ask me this?
It's all about circumstantial
You are
power,
insane.
you know what I'm saying?
I came.
Curze
It's like
shrugged.
comic book
I
scaling,
am
very
asking you.
inconsistent.
Does my purpose matter? Come, Angel. Do you really think it was a chance? I want to know. Each one of us was cast away upon a world that turned out to suit our characteristics perfectly. Characters our father engineered. Furthermore, the characters of many of our Legion's Terran sons were also matched with those of the worlds we were found upon. And, oh yes, we can both see the future. I rather suspect, therefore, that father can read it like a periodical. Can you stand there and tell me that it was chance? No? No reply?
Chance.
said Sanguinius quietly.
No reply, or no as in, no, you don't believe it?
Goaded Curze. Sanguinius' sword lowered a fraction. Why he confided in Curze he could not discern, but the words were out, and he could not have stopped them.
Because they
Even
both
had
have that
been his
precognition.
desire.
No, I do not believe our losing was chance.
Yes, yes, you see!
Curze became excited by Sanguinius' agreement.
A man who plans so long and hard to be taken in so at the moment of triumph? Nonsense! Congratulations, you are halfway to the truth.
That our father was a liar?
Was.
Curze said with a smile, his brow furrowing for just a fraction
Was
of a
a liar.
second.
Indeed, a liar and more. For I am a monster because that is all I can be, and you are an angel likewise.
That's not true. That's
you
not
had
true.
a choice, Curze.
That
Father
is
only
true.
made us. He did not shape us.
Curze's
True.
eagerness turned into a snarl.
I was made to be thus. Nothing could change it. I know because I tried.
When did you try?
Curze's eyes gleamed with tears.
Wait a second.
What?
When
So
did
that
when
he-
did he try? Is he referring to like his trying as in like his first method where it's like he's going to like, you know, butcher people for the like the most pettiest of crimes? Because yeah, we see that doesn't work. It's a shit solution, you know? It's just not going to work in the long term. It's not sustainable. So like if that's what he means by his attempt at it, like brother, you got to try harder, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not good enough. Plain and simple, I think. Like maybe again a hot take, but damn.
He might see me suffer as I failed. That he might tick off his
The Emperor isn't the best at
observations upon
future
his
sight. That would
laboratorium
go to
chart.
the Eldar, known
What
as the
kind of
Eldar.
father makes a child to be one way,
Uran,
then castigates him for being so? You think me cruel? He is crueler. I was to be sanctioned for doing what I was made to do.
He clashed his teeth, suddenly vicious.
How is that fair? How can I follow the man who did this to me?
As quickly as a wave is spent, his ire subsided, and his brittle, agreeable manner returned.
So you see, he deserved betrayal.
That I
Damn.
do not believe, Konrad.
That's pretty metal.
Fathers lie to their sons to protect them.
Deserved
to save
betrayal
them.
is pretty
Our
crazy
father
to say.
hid himself for untold millennia among mankind, revealing himself only when he deemed the time right. The story of our scattering was a necessary lie, if indeed it is a lie. The difference between you and me is that you see sinister purpose behind his actions. I do not. His secrecy hurt me, Konrad, as much as it hurts you. And the conclusion you have reached hurts me also. But I will not cast myself into despair. That is the true difference between you and me. I will not abandon our father's dream. His plan is for the good of mankind.
Curze stiffened. When not threatening
rough.
violence, there was something pathetic about him.
Good given to a species singularly lacking in goodness.
Great, considering the last conversation we heard with Sanguinius, and he said something about ignoring the truth for now. That's true.
There are those that are not cared for.
Pretty funny for someone who sees all possible futures that could happen or never happen to be outplayed. That's also very true.
Wrap themselves
Like, you gotta love
around edges
that.
of such places tight as walls, but do not penetrate its wards.
The Night Haunter approached his brother. Sanguinius matched him step for step, keeping the distance between them. Curze dragged Ascelion around like a morose child might carelessly drag a toy, unaware of the damage being inflicted to the thing it cared for, as it fulminated on some meaningless slight.
To have been there, among the outsiders, the unvalued. They speak of me in whispers. They have learned to fear the dark. But has
And I have to say too, again, props to Amber King and all the narrators in this, because goddamn, the narration work in this is fantastic. I see a lot of you guys giving credence to Sanguinius there too. Whoever voices Sanguinius, I love that voice. I really, really do. All the narrators in this, fantastic job. I'm jealous, you know. I'd love to do some more narration work at some point. So if anybody's looking for some of those, a voice actor of any sorts, let me know. I'd be more than willing to help you out with that for sure. You know, I'm looking to get my foot in the door more for that, and it was very fun to do last time. So yeah, let me know if you guys got any work for that, because I'm interested.
They have learned to fear the dark. But has our brother found me? Has the lion thought to look there or anywhere on Macragge? No. Idiocy. I practically shouted to them to come for me. If you would look at this world and see the hope of the future, go to the poor quarters. There you will see the despair of the present. And you know as well as I, hope for the future is a lie. Everything goes back to the beginning. And our beginning is so very dark.
Is that what you believe, brother? That all this was inevitable?
I believe Horus's turning was part of our father's intended plan.
I do not think so.
Curze threw up his arms, as if he would embrace his brother. Askelion's boot clanked on the floor as he dropped it.
See, what a marvelous heart-to-heart we are having. Why should we not? Our brothers have close relationships. Fulgrim regarded Ferris very highly before he killed him. And then Ferris was also close to Vulcan. So easy to dislike Ferris, but so much loved by others. Perhaps there is some hope for me.
There is hope for us all, Konrad.
Curze smirked.
No, there isn't. I am hated. You have always hated me.
And there's not even a retort to that, because I do believe that's true. I think a lot of the Primarchs did have a hate for him, but it's not an unfounded hate. Again, very hard people to work with, unwillingness to change, because he can see the future, and he's just not willing to take steps to change what he believes is already set in stone. And again, his methods just are not effective. They've proven to be completely ineffective. So it's just like, God damn, you know? Wow. Keep doing it. I enjoyed it a lot too. I appreciate that, Anthony. I appreciate that a lot, man. I'd love to do more voice acting again. If anyone knows of anyone that's looking for some voice actors, let me know for sure. Because, like, yeah, you know, I'd be more than willing to do more. You know, I appreciate the community. I love it, and you know, if I can give back to it in any shape, way, or form, I'd love to for sure. Pay for his Patreon. Yeah, the Amber King does great work. Yeah. Like, his voices are fucking amazing, I have to say that. They hated his methods of war, but that is what the Emperor had him do. He is right about the Emperor in that regard. Damn. Sanguine feels pity towards him? That's fair. I do think he feels pity. I think Sanguinius is definitely one of the characters that you can feel, well, like, he feels a lot of, like, compassion towards his brothers. He wants what's best for his brothers, even though they constantly turn against him and the Emperor. Sanguinius wants to be loyal, and he is a very loyal person, but his personality just doesn't mix with those that aren't, you know? The Emperor was really trigger happy with his legion when a rebellion started on Terra. Yeah, that's fair.
You know I hate, detest, and cannot bear a lie. Not because I am straighter than the rest of us, but simply because it appalls me. There is a taint of death, a flavour of mortality and lies. Descending down the road to madness, Konrad hated what he was becoming.
Thank you, Goop. I appreciate that. 51 likes, only 25 likes on the stream. Yeah, you guys are enjoying. Leave a like in the stream, please. I appreciate that, guys.
Hiding in the cold, damp bowels of the Dark
Thank you to
Angel's
Goop there. I
flagship,
appreciate that.
A trail of bodies were left in the Night Haunter's wake. Any sent to capture him were left mangled, tortured things. Some even with bite marks from when the Primarch had become hungry. Escaping from the lion's clutches, Konrad roared down to the surface of Macragge, finding himself at the heart of a new empire, Imperium Secundus. The innocent people of Guilliman's homeworld found this enormous shadow loom over them, like death itself. Was it a man or a beast? The Night Haunter began to butcher the screaming, terrified people.
Holy shit,
finding
Hobbit.
himself confronted by both Rabute Guilliman and...
Thank you, Hobbit. I appreciate that. Holy fuck, man. I appreciate that a lot. Big shout out to Hobbit there. I appreciate that. Thank you to all the new members we got there. If you guys want to claim your Hastati ranks, come on down, join the Discord. You guys get a special rank in the Discord there. Big shout out to Hobbit for those gifted memberships. I appreciate that a lot, man. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Wow. We're about to get spammed with notifications now, so get ready for that for the next couple minutes. But again, wow, thank you, Hobbit. I appreciate that a lot. Wow, that's crazy, man. Awesome.
People, finding himself confronted by both Rabute Guilliman and Lionel Johnson.
Tune those notifications out.
With all the grace of insanity itself, pushing the two demigod figures to their limit. Even amongst the Primarchs, Konrad's prowess made him one of the best duelists, and his blinding speed and tenacity forced the Lion to protect the death thrones aimed at
Am I still
Guilliman,
evil, Battle
the
Chicken?
weakest
Yeah,
amongst
Battle
them.
Chicken. Is he still evil?
Detonating the explosives he had rigged around the chapel, Curze escaped, while Guilliman and the Lion only survived thanks to barbarous Dantiog, teleporting them away. Seemingly unchallenged, Konrad dove deeper into the heart of Guilliman's realm, finding Guilliman's adoptive mother, Tarasha Utin. The elderly matron stood up, and under the sheer weight of the Primarch's aura, his silhouette of dread and terror, she looked the monster in the eye.
Is he about to kill Guilliman's adoptive mother? That's very fucked up if that's what's about to happen here. Is he actually about to, like, slay her? Man, that's really fucked up. I can imagine Guilliman's probably gonna have a massive fucking bone to pick after this is all said and done here. Wow. I hope he's kind here, but something tells me, man, probably not gonna happen. Oh man. She's an absolute badass. Is she? Is she gonna like put Konrad down like a little bitch here? Just gonna backhand him.
And told the bastard to go to hell.
Oh.
For a man who had reveled in being an icon of fear, his weapon in cowering humanity, the act only in his dark moments he would admit to loving. The fearlessness of this mere human standing up to him must have filled him with rage. Before he could end the pathetic thing, an enormous man, covered in rudimentary armor, with obsidian skin and scarlet eyes barreled into him. Vulcan lived.
Oh, Vulcan's back?
Rage, paranoia, and hate
So not only did she get away with that, from what we saw just now, not only did she get away with that, called him a bastard to his fucking face. That probably pissed him off so much, because she's not in fear of him. She's seeing right through him. And then Vulcan comes back, man. Vulcan just smashes right into him. Man, I assume this is probably going to break his mind a little bit. Vulcan comes back, and that must be the absolute, like, spit in the eyes, like, final straw for him here. For his sanity. Because, like, after all he did to Vulcan to try to get him to die, and he just couldn't, it's like, fuck.
Lived.
Almost feel bad for him in a way.
Rage, paranoia, and hate flooded into Curze, As the two Primarchs
The Lion wanted to exterminate the planet just to kill Curze? That's fucking nuts.
Opponent, he would simply reawaken from that accursed immortality. The brothers mercilessly attacked each other, but the duel was interrupted by the Cabal assassin, John Grammaticus, and his comrade, Damon Pytanius. Using a mysterious entity, Konrad was banished, and the Primarch found himself in the warp. The debilitating, insane Primarch was cast into that realm of madness.
He was sent directly into the warp.
He saw the truth of things that their father had kept from them. He saw his father's empire of lies. Konrad bore witness to the future of unending war. His father crippled on a throne of gold, a Acarian god, ruling an imperium built on hate, superstition and war. Emerging back into real space, Konrad found himself again back on Macragge.
Interesting that he just went into the warp like free ball there. He just fucking took that. God damn. Oh, don't worry about it, Goop. Yeah, you know, catch what you can, of course. And of course the VOD will be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow. At some point, the full VOD will be uploaded. So, of course, if you missed any of it, don't fret. The stream is here, but a updated VOD with, you know, the credits and updated audio and all that will be uploaded shortly after the stream is done. So, of course, if you missed any of it, don't fret. It will be here, of course. So, I appreciate that, though, Goop. You know, I appreciate all you guys that tune in and, you know, watch along with me. That means a lot to me, and you know, I really can't thank you guys enough for that. So big thank you to all you guys who are trying to tune in here as much as you can. I really appreciate that, guys.
Real space, Konrad found himself again back on Macragge. A cacophony of justification added to his personal outlook. Infiltrating his way back into the heart of Imperium Secundus's realm, Konrad ambushed his brother Sanguinius, now the Emperor Regent, keeping a hostage in case he decided to get too brave. Konrad began to taunt his brother. Their father had lied to them. That all of what they had endured, even this rebellion, was part of his plan. A sinister plot to achieve his selfish goal of apotheosis.
Interesting.
But the truth was buried in his words. I am hated. You have always hated me. And he did not deserve it. How could you hate someone who had no agency in their life? No choice. His father had made him this broken monster. He had implanted his sense of justice.
And interesting how he's talking about the Emperor's like idea there about like the heresy. Like, yeah, is the heresy on purpose? Did the Emperor plan this? And he's actually kind of talking about that in a sense. I think they're talking about like, yeah, this was meant to happen in a sense. You were all made to hate me. I was made to be hated. I was made to be feared. I can understand where he's coming from, but at the end of the day, again, I guess, yeah, in his case, he was just meant to be like a horrific product of fear, you know, like that is what he was made to be, I guess. If the Emperor truly made him, the first thing he did when he got out of his gestation chamber was literally kill somebody, eat their fucking brain. Yeah, I figure he must be made to do that type of thing, right? Maybe that's again a hot take, but fuck, hard to say, you know? Damn.
This broken monster. He had implanted his sense of justice. He had allowed him to weaponize it for the Imperium for over a century. And his reward for all of this was condemnation and then death at the hands of an assassin. He didn't want to be hated. Why? Why couldn't he be in his brother's place? Couldn't he be there in golden glory? And Sanguinius the rotten mad thing instead?
So
Why
is he
did
jealous
he have
then?
to be alone while his brothers were taken in, loved? He had tried to fight fate, but no matter what he did,
I don't
his
think that's
path
true.
was set.
He's saying he's trying to fight fate. I don't think that's true. I don't think we've seen him really properly fight fate, unless it's missing some parts and we just didn't get to hear those parts. he basically just accepted what he was shown, and he didn't really try to divert that faith at all from what we saw, I think. So maybe that's self-cope, but it also sounds a lot like he is jealous of his brothers here. He's jealous of the attention that they got and the attention that he doesn't get, I suppose. He was meant to be Judge Judy, but due to his morals being corrupted, that won't happen. Yeah, see, but like, was he made with corrupted morals, or were those morals corrupted the instant he left his gestation period or chamber? You know what I'm saying? Because like, again, like from what we saw, instantly he just seems psychopathic. So it's just like, damn, you know.
Fate.
Judge
No
Judy is
matter
kind of
what
crazy
he
though.
did,
Yeah.
this path was set for all that he was. Konrad, the uncompromising, cruel Archon of justice, the Night Haunter, a symbol of terror and dread. He was still human. The loneliness, the torture, the pain, and powerlessness to fate, it had all broken him. Konrad offered his life to Sanguinius to end it all here. One last defiance of fate. His brother rushed forward, swinging down towards his neck. Konrad welcomed the release, welcomed the justice for the murderer he had become, but it never did. Sanguinius stopped. He wouldn't kill his brother. He told him that even he could find redemption.
Wow.
No, his freedom would not come. Fate had stayed the same. Konrad retreated, angry, ashamed, broken, mad.
So he was willing to just like take the blow there and fall right then and there. That's very interesting. So we're already seeing like, and I guess it kind of makes sense like why he, I guess, doesn't, what's the word? Doesn't make it to 40K, I suppose. It's because he's already kind of searching for death here, much like a lot of the heretic Primarchs that we do see. They're broken and they already are seeking death in their own way, but they're not being gifted it. And so it just keeps kind of going, you know? Like Sanguinius could have ended it right then and there, but now this is going to continue, and it's going to be like the sense of how many more people are going to die before we get that same result, you know, in a sense. Goddamn. You want to die so you could see that fate is not set in stone. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, that's true, actually. I didn't consider that. That's a good point, actually, there, David. Wow. Chosen fate.
Like a man possessed, Curze began to roam the world of Macragge, reaping the souls of the pathetic creatures that served in his hypocritical father's realm. The man, Konrad, raving about his father's injustices, and the creature, the Night Haunter, brutally killing and torturing, enjoying the power and self-righteousness from their kill. For weeks, Konrad plagued the forces of Imperium Secundus, stirring up the broken and forgotten people who dwelled in the slums of the world. Hated vagrants just like him. However, Lionel Johnson was able to corner his brother, and the Primarchs reenacted a duel they had fought a dozen times. Two of the greatest combatants, even amongst their brothers.
Going at it again.
The duels was a display of dizzying heights of martial prowess and strength. But finally, after years of hunting his brother, the lion defeated Konrad. But the sight of this poor, demented, and tormented thing captured the last of what was pity in his heart.
Damn.
Instead of death, the lion broke his brother's back over his knee.
Oh.
The wounded, mad Curze was brought into custody and put on trial before the Emperor of Imperium Secundus.
That's fucked. He just like fucking straight up, just like WWE, fucking like spine breakered him. That's kind of fucked, you know? Wow. That's I think that's kind of funny. And then they just like brought him into custody after that. So he just like fucking like actually just crippled his ass and brought him in, wrangled him. That's funny. Conrad saw an extremely scary future. Snapped badly, wounded Dorn. Yeah. The Undertaker. Yeah, they literally fucking Undertakered his ass, dude. Like, what the fuck? Spine busted him. Like, He did try to tell Fulgrim about the futures that he saw, all the deaths he had seen. Fulgrim told Dorn, and Dorn yelled at him, thinking he's gone mad and trying to damage morals with the Great Crusade. So nobody believed him, basically, about what he said, what he tried to claim was true. Nobody believed him. I see. God damn.
Brought into custody and put on trial before the Emperor of Imperium Secundus, Sanguinius.
Broke his back on thy knee like Russ against
Johnson
Magnus.
And Sanguinius. Conrad freely admitted to all that he had done. It was a joke to put him on trial when he was simply a victim of his father's constructed fate. None of the guilt was his. And what good was their judgment? He was still destined to die at his father's orders. The Mad King, disheveled and broken, alone on his throne. His judgment was given. Execution. But even as his brothers prepared to put down this mad monster, Conrad taunted them, even goading Sanguinius with his fate, the death they had both foreseen. A broken angel, murdered by Horus, his once closest brother, all a path constructed by their father. The enraged Sanguinius lashed out.
Yeah, and he's talking about the path constructed by their father.
This was not how he would die. It was not how it would all end.
So he is
Moments
giving credence to that idea.
Unforeseen, the lion appeared, roaring for Sanguinius to stop. Troops came into the room, demanding the lion's surrender, but he responded that Curze's prescience had shown his death would be at the hands of an assassin sent by the Emperor. For Curze to die, his death would have to be ordered by their father, which meant for that future to come to pass, the Emperor and Terror still stood. There was hope yet. With the dissolvement of Imperium Secundus, the Ultramarines, Dark Angels, and Blood Angels raced towards Terror, hoping to break the massive warp storm that had isolated the capital since the early days of their heresy. The raving Conrad, locked within chains, laughed. Once again he had avoided death. His fate was still on track. He was vindicated. He was justified. The Loyalists in their journey to break through the ruin storm followed the prescience.
Is that really all it's about to him, though, is
Curze,
justification?
The latter only revealing
That's really what's
small
driving him
pieces
forward
in
here.
rants between his deranged mutterings and apathy towards their cause. Arriving above the world of Davin, the Primarch
So he's just a madman talking shit in chains now,
in tow
basically.
as their prisoner. The further the group descended upon the world, the more Conrad began to panic.
Wow.
He had not foreseen this. All his life, he'd had the comfort of knowing what would happen next. But now he was utterly powerless. He was making decisions. The anger and sadness began to build like a wave in his broken mind. Choice. He'd always had no choice. But each step he took towards the warp portal, located deep upon this strange world, was cracking his foundational belief. Arriving at the eerie temple, the brothers were in awe. The warp portal, the epicenter of where their father and Horus had entered that realm of madness. Caught off guard, the group was ambushed, and Sanguinius was swallowed up by the demon Madal's portal, the sight of which made Conrad shriek with concern and sorrow.
Interesting, like he doesn't know what his fate is anymore. He's talking about like how each step is nothing, like he never had to make a decision for himself because he could see every future, but now he's at a point where there is nothing telling him what's going to happen next. That's fucking pretty nuts, you know? Like I'm sure that would probably shake him to the bone. Like this is just adding on to the madness even more in a sense. Dark Angels and Ultramarines made sure the Blood Angels and Sangui get through the blockage to get to Terra. Yeah, I do remember that vaguely, actually, yeah. He justifies it as he saw his death by the Emperor. That means he was a traitor, so he acts like one. Not his choice, it is fate. That is where he went astray. See, yeah, but like that's such a weird thing to say, because it's like, if you were not a traitor, you could like, you know, vastly affect things potentially in the other direction, and then maybe things wouldn't be as bad. I think it's just like a flaw with his decision making. Like his decision making just really at the end of the day is not that good. He's got very poor decision making, you know, that's for sure. And he's, you know, his willingness to not change too. It absolutely fucks him, I think, in the long run here.
Of all his brothers, Sanguinius had shown him kindness. Even though he was a monster, Sanguinius loved him. A feeling the all-too-human Konrad buried amongst the madness of the Night Haunter. Guilliman and the Lion began to scream at him, to use his prescience to see where Sanguinius was. But he couldn't. Konrad was panicking. He had seen none of these events, and it was breaking him, calling into question everything he had done. Emerging out of the portal as demons erupted across Davin, Sanguinius dragged the fragile Curze aboard his flagship. As Guilliman and the Lion engaged the traitor forces that were blockading the path to Terra, they allowed Sanguinius and the Blood Angels the opportunity to defend Terra. Aboard his brother's flagship, Sanguinius decided again to bring his brother to Terra, placing Curze within a stasis coffin. As the brothers spoke for the last time, Sanguinius told Konrad that they would both face their destined path. Sanguinius had accepted his fate because he chose to. He was in control of his destiny, just as Konrad had had the choice too. Haunted, furious, and raving, Konrad screamed at his brother, trying desperately to hold on to the justification for it all.
There is no justification, though. It's such a weak justification.
Into the void of space.
Wow. So he just yeeted him out into space. A sense of pressure
building before a storm pressed the air in the room to an uncomfortable thickness. From out of this rolled a thunder of words.
Put him in a sarcophagi and yeeted him out into space.
Yet in the last sane pockets of his mind had never expected.
You are not weak, my son.
The voice drove Curze to his knees with its power. His head rang with sudden, white pain. A roaring hurricane of might blasted from the figure, now surrounded with anesthetic light, tossing the remains of his last victims around and burning out the wall, exposing Curze to the light of the hateful stars.
Father,
he said. His voice was fractured, small, a child's voice, pitiful.
I am beyond your accusations, beyond speech, beyond anything. Why do you think that I speak? Your madness is finally complete.
Again the words rang Curze's skull, with the force of a clapper striking a bell. Still he managed to grin and raise his head to stare at the meaty thing's glory, though he was forced to squint against the blazing light.
The blazing light.
No, you are here. I hear you. You have come to face my judgment drawn by this offering I have made. You were ever a bloody god.
I am no god, nor shall ever be.
That's what he says. That's what he says.
His cloak whipping in the psychic gale, his book clutched protectively to his chest.
You are here. You understand your guilt. You have come to face my judgment.
You cannot condemn me. I am punished enough.
There is not enough punishment for what you have done. Not in this life or in the next,
shouted Curze.
How dare you
Same could be said to him, though.
What I have done.
True.
And what sacrifices I have made. And what I now must suffer.
The force of the voice battered Curze back.
Like Curze is talking as if he knows any of this, but he has no idea.
For which I am grateful.
Curze opened his eyes to peer sidelong at the figure.
Why
This is a
such
strangely sad
hollow
moment, you're right.
words?
The voice took a moment before it returned, again with thunderous force that made Curze howl.
No father wishes his sons to suffer, no matter what burdens he is forced to place upon them.
An apology! What next? You will forgive me. Sanguinius warned me you might.
He scoffed.
There was never anything to forgive. You acted as you were made to, but my plan was interfered with. Your insanity was not your fault, nor was it mine.
Curze snarled like an animal.
Lies. Everything was as you intended.
There is nothing you have done wrong. If only you and I could have met one more time, I could have shown you back to the light.
How marvelous!
Curze fell into a minute of wild, howling laughter.
I am the Night Haunter. Light is anathema to me.
Light is within you all. You are my sons. You are born of light. None of you are beyond redemption.
Tell that to those who died.
So they're going like obviously at a back and forth here. And the Emperor is just straight up telling them like, yeah, I made you this way. You have nothing to forgive, like, or nothing to be sorry for. But my plans were interrupted, and Konrad is just not accepting this as an answer, kinda. Because it is a shitty thing to have to hear, I'm sure. But yeah, he's just not like taking what the Emperor has to say here at all. It's like, yeah, it's just showing how far gone he is, how lost he truly is, I think. Obviously, we're not at the end of the speech yet here, but that's the way it's looking so far.
Nothing ever dies. Death is a state of transition. You have my forgiveness, Konrad, whether you want it or not.
Never!
The voice in his head would not relent, but pounded mercilessly on. More masonry fell from outside the wall. The floor collapsed behind him, frittering into constituent atoms.
You made but one mistake, my son. From it, all the evil you have perpetrated springs. You chose to believe in immutable fate.
Wow.
Without choice, there is nothing. These gods that taunt us rely upon choice. The functioning of this universe depends upon choice. A single fate is one book in a library of illimitable futures. You read only one. Do you not see that you chose this? You chose to be fate's prisoner.
That's
Had you
true.
believed in your own agency, none of this would have come to pass.
Literally.
You made this happen. You chose to be the way you are. Trapped, manipulated, insane.
Curze's smile froze, seeming to become detached from the face that it wore, hovering maniacally about his lips.
He's
as a
probably gonna
thing
lose his
unique to
fucking mind
itself,
here, isn't he?
Before it collapsed
Absolutely
with
lose his
all
mind
the
here.
violence of a dying star, and
Yeah.
his mouth became a screaming hole.
No! You sent the assassins to kill me. You want me dead?
You determined what fate you trod. Your belief, my son, is nothing but an excuse for your own failings.
That's true.
Wailing, Curze threw aside his book and hurled himself into the dreadful light, though it burned his eyes, and beat at the effigy, rending and tearing at it with broken black nails, peeling long curls of frozen flesh from the stitched carcasses, ripping it to bloody shreds. The light went out. Shaking, sobbing, he collapsed to the floor. The last remnant of his sculpture rolled wetly from the throne.
I cannot be forgiven.
He whispered. Tears coursed down his face, dripping from his nose and chin, insufficient in their profusion to dilute the blood spilled upon the floor.
After all I have done, where would be the justice in that? I had no choice. I had no choice!
The pressure dissipated. Curze hunched down to the floor and wrapped his arms around the ruin of his substituted father. Frozen in a half embrace, he waited for a voice that he would never hear again.
Yeah, that was his one time with the Emperor, and maybe it wasn't exactly what he wanted, but that's what he's probably going to get, unfortunately. And it's basically to tell you that, you know, you're a fuck up, you did this to yourself, and, you know, next time you should just kind of get better, I guess, you know? Like, no, but on a more seriously note, yeah, this is a very sad scene, because he is trying to, he has to come to grips with his failures, and even though he does not want to admit that they are his failures, they are at the end of the day his failures. He was a slave to the fate, or to the destiny that he chose for himself. He saw it, yes, but there were other ways to get there, and he trapped himself, enslaved himself on that path, and never chose to deviate it. You know, we're smoking on Konrad Pack tonight. True. You choose to Fate's puppet and plaything. Yeah, you choose to be Fate's puppet and plaything. That's exactly right. Age of Sigmar lore, it's coming, Battle Chicken. It's coming. I promise. Vindication.
My sons, the galaxy is burning. We all bear witness to a final truth. Our way is not the way of the Imperium. You have never stood in the Emperor's light, never worn the Imperial eagle, and you never will. You shall stand in midnight clad, your claws forever red with the lifeblood of my father's failed empire, warring through the centuries as the talons of a murdered god. Rise, my sons, and take your wrath across the stars.
For the Grey Horned Rat, I hear you.
Memory, rise, my Night Lords.
Fucking Warpstone
Konrad
addict.
Curze, or the Night Haunter. It would be this pathetic, fractured thing that would awaken from the stasis coffin his brother had placed him in. Nearly 3 decades had passed. The rebellion was over. Sanguinius and Horus were dead, and his father laid crippled upon a throne of gold. A war that cost the lives of billions, a war that had destroyed worlds, fractured brotherhoods, families, and the Imperium had been changed forever. Eventually being discovered by a human salvage ship, Konrad reawakened, massacring the crew. The poor, innocent people aboard. They found this disheveled creature in human form. Some screamed. Some were frozen in place by the sheer dread. But all died at the Night Haunter's hand.
Wow, so Konrad even after that, he didn't change.
Leaping from sprouts of rage, cruelty and torture to something that
his mind's broken.
More of a man.
His mind's broken at this point.
Konrad Curze, 2 aspects of one mad Primarch. With his freedom, Konrad made his way to the planet of Salgulsa, foreseeing his legion's arrival in his prescience. Like a puppet on strings, Konrad played out the part he had seen over a century ago, and prepared himself for the fated death that had once filled him with dread. He isolated himself, alone with his madness. He crafted a sculpture of flesh, made from the broken pieces of legionary slaves and servants. As the rotten, wet, disgusting thing was prodded and stitched, a twisted mockery of his father looked back at the filthy, mad, blood-soaked creature that was Konrad. He began to argue with it, swearing he could hear it speak.
Wow.
Oh, he hated him. His father, the arbiter of his fate, his architect for the state he was in. Look at him now, a broken corpse god, set on a path where he was to be worshipped as a god, just like he had planned.
Wow.
It was all his fault. Everything Konrad had done was because of him. He had no agency.
Even though he was very responsible for it.
Billions who had died.
None of the guilt.
Why?
Wow.
Him? Why was he chosen to land on Nostromo, growing up unloved and alone? Why did he have to become the Night Haunter, the arbiter of a brutal justice that he had allowed to continue for over a century in the Great Crusade? Why could he have not been in his brother's place, such as Sanguinius and even Corax, two brothers cast from the same mold, but yet Corax's gifts were so much better. He haunted the night, but Corax owned it. Why did he make it so that he enjoyed the killing? Why did he make him this monster? Power and golden light began to emanate from the flesh effigy. Words pounded into Konrad, who in his broken mind he would never know if they were real or in his own head.
Damn.
He began to rage and condemn his father, blaming him for everything. But his father's words cut deeper than any wound ever could. You chose to believe in immutable fate. Without choice, there is nothing. Do you not see that you chose this? You chose to be fate's prisoner. Had you believed in your own agency, none of this would have come to pass.
True.
You made this happen. You chose to be the way you are. Trapped, manipulated, insane. The gods of chaos had ripped him from the Emperor's side, and the dark gods had toyed with Konrad, but he was not faultless. Those entities tried to poison him. They had shown him more possible futures when the Prescience took over, but it was Konrad who chose his fate.
That's
it was
true.
his fault. The words broke him as tears began to fall down his cheek.
I guess at this point they are trying to corrupt him, Chaos. The forces of Chaos are trying to corrupt him, and they're showing him different outcomes. And I'm sure this is where they would have corrupted him into becoming a demon prince. But he's still, in this case, thankfully, locked on that initial path that he saw, where that he will be killed by these assassins. He will be assassinated, and he's willing to carry that out, even though he has such disdain for the Emperor and what's happened to him. He's still going to try to carry that out because he doesn't see himself as capable of gaining forgiveness, and he wants to atone for that in a sense, I believe, but in his own way, I guess.
Words broke him as tears began
he is locked
to fall
on
down
death.
his
Yeah,
cheek.
pretty much.
The boy with the knife on Nostromo, he had chosen to kill him. He had chosen to be the Night Haunter, and Dawn was right. The hatred planted in those you leave alive will pass from one generation to the next until worlds are engulfed in a war, the cause of which none of those fighting will remember. It would never end. His justice was a joke.
Wow.
And Sevatar was right too. How then did the other
Sevatar.
Primarchs manage to create
What a G.
compliant worlds? How has world upon world managed it without resorting to butchering children and broadcasting their screams across the planetary voxnet?
Yeah.
Even
How have
the
they managed
events on
it? Let's
Davin,
ask ourselves.
where
How have they
Konrad's
managed it?
prescience failed him, showing that fate was not set. It was all his choice, and the confoundment of it all was so great that Konrad knew that to accept it, it would break the last string of sanity he had left. It is perhaps the most frightening thing in this world, what humanity does to protect itself. We will burn worlds to protect the fundamentals of who we are, and our ego, our self-righteousness. Shaking, sobbing, collapsed to the floor, Konrad picked himself up and prepared to face the destiny he knew in his heart he was the architect of. The Primarch strode to his throne room, passing the sons he hated so much, and in turn the sons looked at a father that didn't love them, A father who made them monsters and then judged them for it.
Literally.
He had become the very thing he condemned his father for. And in a spiteful act, he ordered them to fight in an unending war. Sitting on his dark throne, a mad king welcomed the assassin sent for him. Laughing, crying, and cold, he welcomed the killer in. Raving with his broken mind, he spoke of vindication, and as his head was cleaved from his superhuman body, Curze escaped the guilt for all that he had done.
So he just straight up let it happen. Welcomed them in and let it happen. Wow. Because he felt guilty. That's crazy. Wow, guys. That was, I'm assuming that's the end there. That's just credits there. I don't want to play the credits out just for copyright music or copyright reasons on the music there. But wow, that was Konrad Curze, 40k lore by the Amber King, guys. Wow, I thought that was fantastic as always. What a tragic story is what I'm gonna say about that. I think Konrad did a lot of that to himself. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's hard to say he didn't. He saw a path and he kept himself on it and he did not deviate at all, and that's totally on him. And I think, like, you know, had he actually taken his life into his own hands, had he actually tried to do more with it, take his brother's advice, take their mercy and run with it, he might have gotten, you know, a lot more. He might have gotten a lot further for that, for sure. Nice stream, love hanging out with all the guys. Yeah, I really liked the Night Haunter. I thought this was a great episode. I thought this was fantastic for sure. If you got time, would you be interested in listening to a fan-made 40k song? I'm not gonna do the song just because, again, just for copyright reasons. Again, I know it's fan-made, but it all depends, right? Like, I don't want to just play music and not have the attribution on the stream properly. You know what I'm saying? So. I'm gonna refrain from music for now, if that's all good with you. I'm sorry about that, but it's just for the case of I don't want to get a copyright in that way, for sure, you know. Games Workshop couldn't make him good. His powers would be OP on the Imperium side. Yeah, that's true. They would be very OP. Again, having anybody with precognition like that, where they can, like, straight up see into the future or see multiple possibilities of the future like that, I imagine that's a really busted, a really busted like perk, I guess. Well, not a perk, but ability to have. I imagine, like, that must be insane. But yeah, Konrad, like, again, his story from the start, like, that world he grew up on, Nostromo? Either way, fucking crazy world. And but I don't think that's what shaped him to be the way it is. Again, when he emerged, he instantly killed somebody. He instantly ate their brain. He was like that from the start, you know. So it's just like, fuck, you know, it's a rough one for sure that way. Would you watch Echoes of Eternity speech by Sanguini? I'm actually I plan on actually doing that one soon as a video. I'm not gonna lie to you. So for tonight, guys, I'm probably just gonna be reacting to this video for tonight. I'm not gonna lie. I'm you know, my sleep schedule has been very fucked up, so I'm feeling pretty sleepy here tonight. I'm not gonna be on too late here. But yeah, I do actually plan on doing a video on the Sanguinius speech. I've been waiting on that one purely just because of I've been wanting to learn a little bit more about Sanguinius. I've been wanting to have a little bit more context to him, because it's nice watching the videos on quotes and whatnot, and the speeches, but if you don't know, like, anything about the actual Primarch or the character himself, I just feel like I'm not getting those speeches in the context, proper context that they should be taken in. That's my only part. Grey Knights Part 2 soon? Absolutely, Grey Knights Part soon too. And you guys blew it out of the water. With the light goal on that one. So yeah, Part 2 on that will absolutely be coming for sure. Thinking the 8-minute one would be easy. That's fair. Yeah, again, I tonight, I mean, I'm probably just gonna do just this video here tonight, so I appreciate that though. Again, if you have the I know there's the what was it, I forget who posted it in the Discord there, but one of you guys posted a Sanguinius speech that was about a half-hour long there. If there's another one that you want me to check out sometime, I don't know if it's the same one or if it's just like an excerpt from that, or if it's a different speech entirely. But yeah, if it's a shorter one, absolutely post it on the Discord there, and I can give that a look for sure. If I'm doing like a video based around Sanguinius on like his speeches, I might just make it into one video even. But yeah, Goop, you have yourself a good one, eh? It was great seeing you here. Thanks for stopping by, guys. But on that note, I'm probably going to be signing off here anyway at this rate. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and leave your recommendations down in the comments below. That's for the VOD, of course, and for all you guys in the stream, of course, leave a like on the stream if you guys enjoyed, and subscribe for more content from me if you're not subscribed already. Big shout out to Hobbit. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for all the gifted memberships there. So a big shout out to Hobbit there, man. I appreciate that as always. And yeah, big shout out to all of our members in general, all of our Hastati. You guys inspired me to make more content for you guys every single day. And yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed the Amber King videos, do not fret, there will be more coming next week for sure. We're probably going to have another poll this week where you guys can vote on what you guys want me to check out come the weekend. Warrior tier got you Sanguini as well? Yeah, for sure. But yeah, guys, you guys have yourself a good night. This has been Centurion, and of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Yeah, you guys have yourself a great rest of your night. Peace, guys.